boom, 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 and there's always a delay with StreamYard, and when it actually goes live on YouTube, and there's always a delay in the comments, as you know, like.
Yeah.
I got the adverts coming up, so it should be popping up, no doubt.
Do you have you got any moderators in the chat?
Yeah, loads.
Okay. Just in case Trump decides.
Yeah, no worries. Hi, welcome to Scott's Inverts. Today we have an absolute legend on. Would you like to introduce yourself, just in case there might be one person that doesn't know who you are in chat? I doubt that very much, but...
Hi, my name is Richard. I am from the Tarantula Collective. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no worries. So you're coming over to the UK this Sunday?
That's correct.
For the Invert show on... When are you landing in the UK?
I will be there Friday morning.
And the legend that is Danny Demon.
Yeah, Danny's going to meet me at the airport, and we're going to start running around London. We're going to check out a couple of museums. He's going to show me a couple of cool spots and hit a few restaurants. And then he's like, we'll do it all again at night because it looks even cooler at night. And then I think the next day, Saturday, he's taking me to a zoo about an hour outside of London. He's got a friend there that works there or owns it, or I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's got that all. He's taking care of all that. And we're going to run out there and check that out, film some content, and do some more sightseeing. And then pretty much all day Sunday, just kind of wake up, go to the show, be at the show from open to close, and then hang out with people from the show afterwards. And then Monday, do a little bit more sightseeing and hop on a plane that night, come back home.
How much work's gone into it, into kind of prepping for going to this show, for coming to the UK? You've never been... I mean, I've never been outside of the UK.
Yeah.
You've never been outside of the USA. So how much prep goes into taking not just Richard to the UK, but the Tarantula Collective over to us? And what fears have you got on the run up to it as well?
Oh, first hurdle was once they invited me, and I just figured out that it would work as far as like my calendar, my schedule goes. I realized I didn't have a valid passport, so I had to start running around to getting that taken care of. And that's just a very long process, just getting everything filled out correctly, and then waiting for the State Department to like weeks for them to kind of go through all the applications and do all the background checks or whatever they got to do and send that out. So it was getting down to the wire. I was like, if I don't get it in the next few days, we're just gonna have to push it off to a different show because I wouldn't have enough time to get a plane ticket, at a decent rate. But then luckily it showed up and was able to get the plane ticket and make, all the reservations and stuff as far as like hotel accommodations and things of that nature. And I don't know if you can tell behind me, but I've got two people helping out. So it's like today's feeding day. So I got Zach and Angela here just kind of helping me feed everybody, make sure everybody's got plenty of water. Just kind of just taking care of them. They actually are. I stole them. Kind of. They both worked at different pet stores in town and convinced them to come help me out like once a week or something like that. So they've been invaluable, just kind of help, especially right now, just helping get everything ready to leave. And then Angela's going to be coming by on the weekend, just checking on the geckos and the snakes and, making sure all the water dishes are full and everything's running smoothly while I'm out of the country.
Awesome, man. They must be worth the weight in gold then, literally, especially if they're going to be coming over the weekend while you're in a different country. One phone call and everything's safe.
Yeah. And I've got like cameras and everything set up in here, so I can always just kind of drop in.
Just watch it on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily watching them, but just making sure lights are coming on when they're supposed to, and like no alarms are going off or anything like that.
Awesome. We know your GBB is your ultimate kind of favorite spider, but have you got another one? Is there a secondary one that life wouldn't be the same without?
Oh, there's so many more than just one.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like on the short list, ones that I couldn't live without, I guess, to be dramatic. Like the Monocentrophus balfouri, I'm a big fan of that one. The Harpyctera pulchripes, the Aphonopelma calcodes, Grammostola pulchra. Like those are all some of my favorites.
But like, yeah, no, I don't think a collection is complete without Balfour communal.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you've looked at quite several controversial communals in the past, haven't you, as well?
Uh,
Are they still going, or?
the only other one I could think of would be the Neotheli Incy. As far as like tarantula communals, I mean, I also got communals with different bark scorpions and stuff like that, and those all did well. I actually had to separate them because they were doing so well. I was like getting overrun by scorpions. The Neotheli one is actually that enclosure right there. You can barely see in the background. We're actually planning on, once I get back, disassembling that enclosure and checking it out, and seeing who all's still alive in there and who's not. Because I've been getting a lot of people have been asking, and they're very secretive. I haven't seen any babies yet, but that they do eat crickets. It's like crickets are disappearing, so we're gonna take it apart just to see how many are left, and if it's a good idea to still continue to keep them in that communal or not. But that one was the only reason I really made that one is because I had Dr. Linda Rayer from Cornell University on, and she had over a dozen communals with that species, and like she kept having to break them apart because they were just breeding so much, and
Yeah,
was like giving them away. And she was like, "I'll send you some," and I kind of followed her guide as far as like how to keep them communally, except she was keeping them in like 10-gallon aquariums, and I opted for something a little fancier that looked a little prettier, and that may I don't know. Well, I won't know until I open it up. And that may be why it's not thriving the way hers is. I'm not quite sure.
I think that's going to be a very interesting video.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
yes, I do still have we actually you can't see them, they're off camera, but like right over here where you can't see,
Brian,
just did a whole bunch of we just rehoused a bunch of millipedes and isopods, lit up some of the colonies, and some of them we just moved into different enclosures. That was one of our things we got done today.
I think one of the other questions I've kind of always wanted to ask is there times when you're in that just shockingly amazing room that you've got now, and you sit back and there's nobody else there, cameras are all off, internet's turned off, nobody's blasted up your phone, and you're just like, wow, how have I got this far? And
First, I
did you,
don't think
do
that's
you ever?
ever been a situation. Like my phone's always getting blasted. I gotta like turn it off at night just because I get emails and messages from people like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I know everybody's asleep right now. What are you doing awake? But yeah, it's almost an extreme of that. Like sometimes I feel like guilty, like I'm doing something wrong. Like I'm gonna get like the police are gonna kick in the door and arrest me or something like that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like I don't feel like I should have what I have here. If that makes sense. I don't even know if I'm.
What you worked so hard to get where you're at. The videography, from when you first started to where you're at now is just shocking. And what I was quite impressed with is a lot of YouTubers are quite secretive about the equipment that they use. They won't tell you the exact camera. You
Yeah.
have it all listed in your descriptions. And what was also shocking for me, because I usually watch a video, hardly ever go into the descriptions to have a look. So I clicked on one of those links, and the camera in UK money is 400 quid. I was expecting it because the quality that you produce. I was expecting
Mhm.
it to be like a £3,000-4,000 camera,
Yeah.
and then the same with the lens as well.
Yeah. I mean, I have upgraded some since then. But yeah, I mean, I went with the camera system that I use, which is a Lumix, mainly because it was like the highest quality, but the lowest price. You know what I mean? Like it kind of hit that sweet
Yeah,
spot where it had a lot of the, like 4K formats. You can go up to 120 frames per second. I mean, they're newer cameras now. You can go up to like 300 and I don't even remember 320, 340 frames per second, something ridiculous, or maybe it's just 300 frames. So you can get some really good slow motion. They do pretty well in low light, and the lenses, like Canon is like the standard that most people, kind of go for. But a body is going to cost you like $5,000 to $10,000, depending on, especially if you're getting one of the newer ones with all the different video capabilities. And then the lenses are going to start like around a couple thousand and could go to like 10, 15,000. A nice thing with Lumix being a micro four thirds system, I think the most expensive lens I've got was only like $1,500. The cameras themselves are between like 500 to, I think the newest camera they just came out with, the GH6, I think retailed at like right at $2,000. You know, that's brand new, just launched. So it's considerably cheaper than most of the other lines of cameras.
That that's not bad. I mean, I know a lot of the smaller channels like myself. I mean, we're on phones. We're on. I use a Sony SV1 vlogging camera.
Yeah.
But we're all getting there. I mean, one of the other things is with the phones that are coming out now, the quality on them for video. Oh, apologies for that. Yeah, the cameras on the new phones that are coming out are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider just doing a bit of footage on your phone and maybe editing a video on your phone and getting it out there, or is it still this is the Tarantula Collective? It's professional and that's how it is, or?
Are you asking if I would ever make a video with my phone? Is that what you're saying?
Just purely your phone, yeah, and just have a bit of kind of phone fun, if you like.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I would say in almost every video, there's at least a few shots that I use my phone for. You know, like just some of the B-roll. A lot of that comes down to just how you edit and color grade the footage to kind of make it all look the same. But yeah, there's especially the video with it came out a few weeks ago. It was like top 5 cute but creepy invertebrates. You know, a lot of those shots were actually because I was filming, and then Zach behind me had his phone out and he was also filming. So I used some of his footage and kind of like cut them in together. And yeah, most people don't even realize. But I mean, when it comes to a lot of like the more detailed shots, especially like a lot of them, like you can use the phone really well for wide angled stuff. When it comes to like, you know, really tight shots that are, you know, using macro lenses and stuff, you really need a good camera. I mean, you need a good lens just to kind of get the depth of field and all the details, but also for the image stability. You know, like the camera I'm using has image stabilizers in the lens and in the body. So just like that, when you're using it macro lens and you're you know really focused in, zoomed in tight, just the slightest movement of your hand can make a big deal in the shot. And you know, if you're using artificial stabilization in you know the editing process, it makes everything really warpy and look weird. So you know, I try to get as stable as a shot in camera, so I don't have to work too much with it in post. And you know, sometimes like that was my big gripe with, because originally that's all I used when I first started the channel. It was just a Samsung, I think it was like a Galaxy 7 or something like that. It was like the first 10, 15 videos, maybe 20 videos were all shot with my cell phone. And that was like, that's why I'm wanted to get into, you know, a DSLR type or mirrorless type camera. It was just because the macro shots, the real tight close-up shots just weren't at the quality I was really wanting.
A quick shout out to Tron's Legs and Stings. He's just donated 10 channel memberships. Thank you, Tron. That's awesome because it benefits the channel as well as the some of the subscribers there. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. Do you do a lot of your macro? Is it using a tripod or are you holding it in your hands? Yeah.
When I'm filming tarantulas?
Yeah.
Yeah, mainly, yeah, it's all pretty much handheld. I use tripods when I'm filming myself just because I don't have anybody else to hold the camera. Sometimes there are some shots that I will use a gimbal, which I don't have nearby, but you know, it's just kind of like a 3-axis stabilizer that I can put the camera on and kind of hold it and get some good shots. I don't use it too much though, mainly because I think it just freaks out the spiders. Like they just see this big, massive rig coming towards them, and like if I'm just holding the camera, it doesn't have as large of like a footprint, I guess, and they don't seem to be as scared of it.
I've tried doing the macro with the tripod, but as you said, it's like it's so difficult to actually position the camera to start with on a tripod for a macro shot. You can't get in there close enough, or you can't get the position. And then when you go in, when I go in super close, I tend to do little tiny movements when I go to press that shutter. You take a picture and the tarantula's kind of like this instead of how you've got it. A quick shout out to Mike Stark. Mike Stark and his lad were the two that come and said hello to you at a recent show in the US. And he's been a channel member for 2 months, says enjoying the show this evening. One of the things he did say, he literally just said, Scott, Richard is the most sound guy you'll ever meet or talk to. I mean, for me personally, that must be one of the best compliments you ever get.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always, I'm not much of a people person. Like, I don't go out socially a whole lot. So sometimes those kind of expos are a little overwhelming, I guess. You know, if you spend all your time, you know, in the basement alone, or with just a few people around you, you get there when there's, you know, hundreds of thousands of people, it can kind of get that social anxiety going. But, you know, it's, I enjoy meeting people and getting to talk to them and seeing like the real person behind, you know, a screen name. Yeah. So I enjoy that aspect of it. And it's always nice to hear, you know, that people are enjoying what I'm doing. And I mean, it's one thing to read a comment, but when somebody's like right in front of you and shaking your hand and you're getting to have a conversation with them, like that's some of my favorite things about, you know, making videos like these.
You can't see the facial expressions when somebody comments, can you?
No.
Or like me, I'll send you an email and then send you another one going, "Are you sure you're coming on? Are you definitely coming on, Richard? You know what I mean? You can't see those facial expressions or that body language like you can."
And I'm real bad at text. Like, in my mind, it's like whatever the shortest, most logical phrase to respond is, and then people read that and like, why are you upset at me? Like, why are you being so short? I'm like, no, that's just efficient communication. I'm not mad.
I'd agree with that. Going off your emails. Crazy Critter World says, "Can you ask Richard about the gummy worms with Tarantula Cat?"
What about him? I don't want to talk about Tarantula Cat. Jeez. Let's see. She I don't know what you want me to say about them. They're
probably
worms. They're not gummy worms.
Yeah, it's probably more the fact that we don't really get hornworms over in the UK.
I like them. Like, they're really cool and they're fun to look at. I love photographing them and feeding them. My spiders, most of them seem to really enjoy them. Some of them won't touch them. But yeah, I just like giving Kat a hard time. Anytime she does something like cute and sweet, I'm like, oh, I got to tease her about
that. Mike again says, "Don't feel bad, Richard. I don't like many people either, unless it's on screen." I think our hobby, I think the majority of us kind of feel the same until we're, and I think that's one of the good things, like with what's happening on a Sunday with the show, is we're all there for the spiders and the inverts. So it's all there for the love of one thing. So do you find yourself at expos and stuff like that being able to come out of that shell a little bit more because you know it's a safe environment?
Yeah, definitely. In some aspects, you know, I know that, you know, I'm going there. It's kind of like, you know, waiting tables or working retail or something like that. You know, like I did that a lot when I was younger. So it's like you can kind of put on that game face or that like work face. You know what I mean? It's like you're smiling and you're happy, even if like inside you're extremely stressed out and tormented. So sometimes it's a lot like that. But I mean, my experience at expos has been hit and miss. Like, I'll do a meet and greet in one place and there'll be a line of people for a couple of hours. And then I'll go in a month later and do a meet and greet at another expo in a different state and maybe see 5 people. And I'm there for 2 days. And most people walking by like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? What are you selling? I'm like, I'm not selling anything. Just here to meet people. And they're like, I don't know who you are. So yeah, it can be humbling as well as inflating.
Is that because over in the States you have reptiles at the same shows if you've got the inverts, don't you?
Yeah, that's correct. Like they're
in the UK, we've got them separate at the UK. I think the meet and greet line for you for Sunday is going to be pretty epic.
We will see.
And
get my hopes up.
Chris is on wheels. Chris is an extremely close friend of mine. He says Fate Beard and Legend Beard on the same live. They call me Fate Beard.
Oh, okay.
It's a long story, and they've all been winding me up, going, "You're having like, the legend."
Between the two, you would have the legendary. So why am I fake?
You're one of the reasons I started growing mine, to be honest.
Ah,
Because I kept growing it to about
yeah.
this long. It was getting itchy, and then there's you with this pure ginger mane. And I was like, you know what? I can grow it. I'm going to get past that stage and just keep going and see what happens.
Man, back in the day, about 10 years ago, my beard was about as long as yours, maybe a little bit longer. Like I didn't cut it for many, many, many years. I was like, I'm just going to let it grow. And I didn't cut my hair either, which was really bad. I had like made this huge life change, and I was like, to show my progress, I am not going to cut my hair or my beard. And like initially it was like ever, and then like 3 or 4 years in, I realized how bald I was at top, but the hair was growing out this way, so kind of like an Albert Einstein thing going on. I'm like, this is not going to get me a woman. So I was like, started shaving my head and kept the beard, and then when I got married, my wife, it was like a month before our marriage, she kind of was like, I've never seen you without a long beard. Like, what? I kind of want to know what's underneath all that hair before we get married. And she was just kind of joking, but it was maybe like a week before I was trimming my beard and just got frustrated trying to get everything even. And I was like, screw it. And just took the clippers to it and like got it down to just, I mean, there was still a beard there, but it was just like that very close kind of stubble. I was like, we're just going to start growing it all from there. And then I just kind of kept it at this length since then. But sometimes
My
I miss
wife
that
just
beard.
my wife just wants me to cut it all off and have it the same length as it was when we got together.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's took me a year and a half. Not happening.
Yeah, it's just it makes eating kind of difficult sometimes. Especially I love French onion soup, and then half of it ends up in my beard.
It's saving it for later.
Yeah, I suppose.
You've got when you
Sometimes I
when you
save it
come
too
to the
long. It
UK,
stinks.
you've got the beard versus English breakfast challenge. Yeah.
What? What'd you
So
say?
you've got eggs on an English. It'd be the beard versus the English breakfast.
Oh, the beard versus the
Now, if
English.
you have a full English cooked breakfast, for anybody in chat with a long beard, you know the struggle because it does go. It gets in every segment of your beard.
What is it?
What? An
What's
English
an English
breakfast.
breakfast? Yeah.
You get eggs, fried bacon, fried sausages, fried bread, beans, tomatoes, and hash browns, all on the same plate.
I mean, I was there until the fried bread and beans. That's a little strange, but the rest of it, yeah, I can handle that.
I've seen some comments about people saying you're going to have beans on toast. For us, that's just like completely normal. But
I don't want to offend anyone.
no, you're all good. The subscribers will not be annoyed.
Like beans
We are
on
going to be.
bread. Or was it beans on bread? It was beans on bread, or I think it was also like corned beef hash, and they just kind of called it. I don't want to get you demonetized. We'll say crap on a shingle, but something that works with shingle a lot better. And that was like poor man's breakfast. That's like when you have absolutely no money, you can still afford bread and beans. So like usually, if my family served me something like that, I knew we were on hard times. We're gonna have ramen noodle for dinner.
I mean, you lot put like we call it peanut butter, but you put peanut jelly literally on everything.
Peanut
Or
butter.
at least that's how it comes across. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just made peanut butter on celery sticks for my little girl yesterday. She wouldn't eat them, so I ended up eating them. But yeah,
I think you're gonna have a bit of a shock when you walk into our McDonald's as well, and the menu is a quarter of the size of the ones that you've got over in America. We have literally got nothing on the McDonald's menus.
that's probably a good thing. Yeah, most of this I don't eat that too often.
So you refer to yourself. We'll go for a Big Mac maybe once every couple of weeks because it's just quick and easy, and they deliver it to your door.
Yeah,
happy days. In the past, you referred to yourself as being a redneck. In the UK, we kind of see just what's put out there on social media platforms, and a lot of it's kind of comedy or wrong turn. What is a redneck in your view?
okay. it's a little the term redneck actually comes, this is some boring history that nobody cares about, but I'm gonna tell you anyways because I got a
No, we
point.
want to hear it. Yeah, yeah.
It came from, oh man, I believe it's like somewhere in the late 1800s. Where I live here in West Virginia is a big coal mining state. Like there's just a lot of Scottish and Irish immigrants, a lot of gypsies, a lot of African Americans who were escaping or running from segregation and just all the terrible stuff that was going on in the South. Kind of ran to the mountains. And the Appalachian Mountains, it's the same chain as the Scottish Highlands. Like when the continents were together, that was a mountain
Cool.
range, and then they split. So it's very kind of
Oh wow.
similar, and it's full of coal. So a lot of people who moved here were working just in the coal mines, and for a while, in like the early 1900s, some of those cities became like just really prosperous, and because there was steel mills, a lot of stuff that needed coal to kind of get their industry going started popping up around. So it was a pretty thrive. Some towns were pretty thriving back in the day, and the coal miners were just getting screwed over. They weren't getting paid very much. They were working in just horrible conditions, and there was really no safety. And people were dying constantly of black lung or mine collapses. And they decided to kind of get together and start forming some of the first unions and fighting back against the coal companies. And one of the ways that when they would go on strike, that they would signify that they were, striking coal miners, is they would put a red bandana around their neck. And a lot of times they used those to cover their, like, that was the only form of like, a way to like keep the coal dust out of their lungs when they were working.
The only protection. Yeah.
So they just had red bandanas around their neck. And so people started calling them rednecks, kind of as a derogatory term. Like, those are the guys that are poor and working in the coal mines and are striking. I mean, and it got bad. Like there was the Battle of Blair Mountain, which doesn't get talked a lot. I'm sure not at all over in the UK, but definitely not even here in America or even in West Virginia. And maybe so much in West Virginia. I think a lot of people are proud of it. But they were striking, and the governor sent the National Guard to pretty much attack the strikers, to try to get them back to work, and it turned into this whole big battle. And it was like one of the first times that the U.S. government attacked its own citizens on American soil, and it kind of just got swept under the rug and forgotten about. But that's where the term redneck comes from, and it just then it got kind of just put as like this pejorative term towards anybody that was from the South or even the West Virginias in the North. Like we went with the North during the Civil War. That's why there's West Virginia and Virginia. Virginia stayed with the Confederates, and we're supporting slavery, and people in West Virginia were going more for human rights and decided to side with the North and kind of split the state. But you kind of get lumped in with them. But yeah, so that's more we refer to ourselves as hillbillies, like mountaineers. We're Appalachian. They're not redneck. Sometimes it's like, yeah, it's kind of a negative word for somebody that's stupid and from the country. And where hillbilly is kind of still has the same connotation, but it also kind of implies that you use a lot of like kind of folk medicine or Appalachian medicine. Eat a lot of strange foods that most of the other country doesn't eat because they're not eating ramps or mushrooms, stuff like that. And then it's also kind of like a sense of community in a way. Like I mean, I've lived all over the country. I mean, West Virginia isn't perfect, but people are a lot more friendly here than pretty much any other state. Like when I moved to Florida, and would just be walking down the road doing some shopping, like just kind of walking on the street, see somebody, like wave and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they would glare at me like, "What's your problem?" It's like if you pass somebody, at least it
That's
used to be.
that's literally where I am.
You say you walk by somebody, you don't say hi, they're gonna think you're rude. You at least acknowledge that there's a person within 6 feet from you. So like everywhere I lived, everywhere I went, I always got weird looks for doing that. I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
Quick little shout out to Mike Stark, just donated 5 channel memberships. He also says moonshine.
Oh yeah, a lot of moonshine.
Just went off my screen. Moonshine and ramps are a hillbilly.
Morals.
Do you think the American government and the media kind of made redneck and the term redneck into a derogatory term to try and forget that part of the history?
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those shames. Like West Virginia, it's up there, one of the most beautiful states. I think that's why I keep moving back here. Like it's just gorgeous. The mountains, the scenery, the white water. a lot of rafting and hiking and rock climbing and stuff like that. I mean, it's like up there with like Colorado or Sedona in Arizona and places like that. But the people that lived here have just kind of been oppressed and screwed over. I mean, since the beginning. Yeah, it's either coal companies that are screwing you over, or oil and gas that are screwing you over. I mean, everybody they want to come in, and hey, people from out of state want to come in, destroy the environment, pull the coal or the oil or the gas out, pay you as little as possible, and then just take off with the money and leave, just mountains completely decimated with all the trees gone, the water poisoned. I mean, it's very frustrating, especially if you're more of a conservation environmentalist kind of mind. You're just like, why are we letting these people destroy our environment? But at the same time, there's no other jobs. So like people will rally behind the coal companies or the, factions of the government that are supporting them because that's their only way of making money. So it's like, it's like kind of cutting your nose off to spite your face. It's, you need the money to live, but by doing this, you're destroying where you live. So
destroying where, yeah. So in the UK, we've got this massive railroad type project that they're building. It's called HS2. Mm-hmm. And a quick shout out to Moon Over Miami for being a channel member for 2 months.
Moon Over Miami. Every video within 5 minutes of uploading, Moon Over Miami.
Everything. Huge supporter of all the channels. And Amy's Web's just gifted 5 channel memberships as well. Thank you, Amy. We've got this project going on in the UK, HS2. And some of the areas it was planned to go through, especially where I am in Coventry, there's a couple of inverts, there's a reptile and some amphibians that are on the endangered species list. Mm-hmm. So the Prime Minister at the time took them off the endangered list so they could build the actual rail. And there's quite a lot of people uproar, but the problem with us in the UK particularly is the government does something bad and we will make a joke of it and then normalize it and then just carry on going. It's pretty shocking. There's what was called Greenbelt land. So Greenbelt land in the UK is an area of land that's dedicated to nature and farming. You can never build on it. I'm 44 and I have seen in my small area where I lived in Nuneaton, acres and acres of Greenbelt land built on. And it all comes down to money. It's all houses or industrial units. And you'll see it yourself when you come over to London. I think London is another one of those cities where they knock down something and build something even bigger, knock it down and then build something even higher and bigger, to the point now where they've got the clean zone areas in the middle of the town. So if you've got a car that chucks out emissions, you have to pay extra to drive through it, which to me it makes no sense, because if the wind blows, how's it working?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. When I was talking to them, they invited me out and they were kind of explaining how it would all work. And I was like, well, do I need to rent a car? They're like, no, don't rent a car in London. It's expensive to drive around. And I was like, okay, like just take the what do they call it, the tubes or the underground, something like that. And they're like, it's very similar, like the subways in New York. I'm like, I have avoided New York City like the plague my entire life. Like, if London's like New York, then I am going to be a huge fish out of water.
I don't think the subway in London is as dangerous as the ones in New York, or how it's portrayed to us on the TV. Again, apologies if it's different.
I don't think it's really as dangerous. Maybe in the 80s it was, but these days, no, not so much. From what I mean, again, I don't go there, so I wouldn't know. But just from what I hear,
but I mean, obviously, you guys obviously drive on the wrong side of the road.
Like 80% of the world drives on that side of the road.
Oh no, yeah. But in the UK as well, if we've got 100 years ago a little path that goes like this because those trees in the way and all the rest of it, mm-hmm. People that built the roads in their own mind would then build the road going around and all twisty and windy, and then end up cutting the trees down. So we haven't really got many straight roads in the UK either. We seem to have roads that literally just go round in circles, and a lot of the roads around London, it's so confusing even for us that kind of live in the UK. So yeah, it's probably best that you don't hire a car. And London traffic, when I've been down to London, especially through the weekdays, you're not going anywhere. it can be literally chock a block, bumper to bumper, and you just get stuck. So I think it's probably a good shout.
Yeah, I don't want to drive in that. I don't pay somebody to drive me around. So I mean, I'm fine with taking buses and trains and all that. It'll be fun. It'll be part of the experience. I'm looking forward to it. My main worry is just relying solely on Danny. Like that's a little terrifying.
You won't. No, I've met Danny at a load of shows. I've had him on a few lives as well. The guy is amazing.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a giant of a guy, but he has got one of the biggest hearts in the hobby. Richard, honestly, you won't go wrong. He's one of the most genuine guys you'll ever meet as well.
Yeah, he's always been really nice to me when I've talked to him. But it's also just that idea of somebody you've met on the internet, you never met in person, and you're putting your entire like life and safety into their hands in a sense. It's like, he could tell me we're going somewhere and get off at a stop and I'm in the middle of nowhere and then he just mugs me and leaves me for, I mean, I'm not saying he would do that, but those are the fears that go in my head. Like, I don't really know this guy. He could disappear me and no one would know what happened to me.
I can't stress how much I'd like to put your mind at rest with Danny, and I suppose a lot of the
I'm just teasing.
The guys in the comments would probably do the same thing. He is a lovely guy. But yeah, and obviously he does the keeper card, so he'll be doing his stand there at the show. You're doing a talk at the show?
Yeah.
He decided what the talk's going to be around and on?
Not really. Like I've pitched him a few ideas, and I don't think they were super excited about it. So I'm working on a couple ideas, trying to figure out. I mean, personally, what I wanted to talk about was kind of walking that line between education and entertainment, and kind of some of the pitfalls that you can fall into going too far into entertainment and sensationalization. Which I mean, I've been guilty of a few times. You just trying to navigate it, finding that middle path is really difficult. Because if you just go purely educational, you're not going to get nearly the reach that you could. And it's great putting strictly educational stuff out there. Like people need to know this stuff, but if they're not enjoying watching it, if they're not going to watch it, then what's the point? You know what I mean? Like you could put a well-researched 30-minute video out there that has all kinds of information. If people can't stand to watch the first 5 minutes, then all that information in the last 25 minutes is just a waste, So you got to find a way to keep people engaged and watching and coming back and without going too far. So that's something I wanted to talk about just because it's something I am constantly thinking about and trying to figure out. And sometimes talking about that stuff publicly kind of helps you understand it from a different angle and get other people's feedback. And I don't know, there's sometimes like you can think about something like a topic for weeks, but then when you actually say it out loud to somebody else and bounce that off of them, like just these kind of revelations come up. And so I mean, I thought something like that would be interesting, but I think they were looking for something maybe a little more focused on invertebrates than not so much content creation. So trying to figure out what we're going to do.
Phil, he's the zookeeper at Shepworth, and he said Danny hasn't told you that our plan is to feed you to the tigers, Richard. So I'm assuming that
knew it.
Phil is the zookeeper that you'll be going to see. He's head of reptiles at the zoo. Yeah, and his knowledge is Phil's knowledge base.
Tigers, but...
Wow.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to checking out that zoo. I think you've frozen, or I've frozen. I'm not sure.
Comes to got you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, wicked. Must just be mine. When it comes to centralization of stuff, and we see old worlds being handled and that type of stuff. In the past, I've kind of been guilty of like, I wasn't nasty to this person or anything like that, but I just literally said, "How come?" A lot bigger channel than me. I said, "Look, how come you handle so much?" And what they said was, if you centralize something, if you make it bigger than what it is, if you handle the old worlds and make it more shocking, it draws people in, and then once you've got that audience, you can then teach education. That kind of turned me a little bit from being so hardcore to no, you shouldn't, to actually, you see groups of people doing it all the time. So you see, like action groups for children doing it to stop them going into gangs and stuff like that. So why shouldn't it work for Spider World as well?
Yeah, I have done a few videos on handling, and I knew when I made it that people were going to get upset. Like I think I made one video that was like how to handle a tarantula, and I knew like this is going to upset some of the elitists or purists in the hobby. But I didn't really care because I have been keeping. I mean, I got my first tarantula back in like 2000, and I handled her a lot because I didn't know any better. I mean, there wasn't Facebook group, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't YouTube. Like that stuff didn't exist yet. So it was I was going off of maybe one or two websites that I found on, using the computer in the dorm at college. And yeah, the Tarantula Keeper's Handbook, I think was like the only, and there was some other like horrible books in the library about tarantulas that just had like basic information. I mean, like books for kids,
Keep them on
but
stones.
yeah. So, I mean, I had that information and then whatever the guy at the pet store told me. And I handled her for, probably a year or so. And then I took her into the pet store. I don't remember why. I thought something was wrong with her. And I was showing the guy and I just stuck my hand in there and scooped her up and he freaked out. Was like, "Oh, you can't handle them. They're really dangerous." And I was like, "I've been doing this like 2 or 3 times a week for over a year. I've never had a problem." But just his reaction, I was like, "Well, I'm not going to handle her anymore because I don't want to get bit." And then, years later, I start to actually, the internet's what it is, and you can get a lot better information really quick. And I was like, it was a rose hair tarantula. Like she's not going to hurt me. Even if she bit me, like it would hurt, but the venom's not strong. So a lot of that was, just kind of fear that got placed in. But I also realized like I didn't know what I was doing. And it's very possible that there are people out there getting their first tarantulas that want to handle them that don't know what they're doing. So, I wanted to put something out there how you can handle them safely. If you insist on handling, here's how you can do it safely. I don't handle old worlds in my videos, at least that I can remember. Like I usually don't. I mean, I'll take them out and film them. When it comes to handling, I'm pretty restricted to curly hair tarantulas like the Chilicotl albopalosis, Gramastole pulchra. I like to handle her. The Phonopelma calcodes, like those types of like new world terrestrial, very kind of just passive, for the most part, species. And I found that there is a huge benefit, not just for me, but when I'm talking to somebody that doesn't like spiders at all, or is very hesitant or nervous, or maybe just has a little bit of a curiosity, there's a huge impact that can come from them, like me handling the like holding my hand and then letting them, hold them or let the spider walk on them. Like just the type of walls that tears down almost immediately, is to me is like it's pretty much invaluable. Like I could tell you, yeah, it's kind of like this lesson I learned when I was studying Buddhism. It was like you can read every single book there is about swimming, and you can talk about swimming nonstop. You can philosophize about it. You can, just beat it to death with talking and thinking. But you don't know how. But you just don't know how to swim until you jump in the water. So I kind of feel like that is how I approach handling tarantulas in certain cases. It's like, I can tell everybody all this stuff about they're not aggressive, they're not deadly, they're, all these facts, but that's not going to change their mind. They're still going to be scared of it until they see one in person. And even more so when they feel it walking on them and they realize this thing isn't out to kill me. It's not out to get me. It's changed a lot of people's hearts and minds. So I'm not like anti-handling at all. But I do think that people that are handling some old worlds, mainly just for attention or clout or just sensationalization, or people that will hold multiple species at the same time, like that makes me nervous, just because I know what is very possible. You got P Metallica and a rose hair and a Calcodes
Yeah,
all in one hand. It's like that's a recipe for disaster. Like that's irresponsible.
that's it. That seems to be like happening a lot on TikTok, and I've got a couple of people on TikTok that I'm friends with and I'll talk to, and they do it. And the only reason I talk to them is they're nice people,
Sure.
but hopefully through suggestion they'll stop doing it over time.
Yeah, my least favorite is people that put them in their mouth and like do that thing where they open their mouth and the tarantula comes out. It's like that's just it's just dangerous for you. Like it's bad for the spider too, but I feel like the spider would before it got hurt, it would hurt you. You know, so that's not something I would want to, you know, because a lot of it's difficult because you want to make content, you want to, you know, show people what you're doing, and sometimes you get pushback because they're like, well, just because you do that doesn't mean somebody that's never handled a tarantula should do that or something. And I'm not talking about a tarantula in your mouth, but I mean, just sometimes, you know, like I'm rehousing a tarantula. Sometimes people don't like the way that I transfer the spider. And it's like, I mean, I've been doing this for decades. I've rehoused probably at this point thousands of spiders. So I, you know, and I know these spiders, you know, I work with them a lot. I have had them for a while, so I kind of know their personality and things. So I know what the situation, you know, I'm not saying I can, I'm like psychic or anything, but I have a pretty good idea how they're going to respond. And if they freak out, how the, you know, what they're going to do. And people are like, well, you're setting a bad example. And so it's sometimes it's hard being a content creator, showing people what you do, but also you don't want to be a bad example. And I think sometimes other creators, especially on short form content like TikTok and Reels and stuff like that, they don't have time for subtlety. They don't have time to explain. They're just showing you something real fast, and sometimes you can take it out of context. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that it still is an individual's responsibility. You know, you can watch a video that says this is how you do something, and then you do that. Like you can't. I don't feel like you can blame the person just because the responsibility is on you. You know what I mean? Like I try to say in a lot of my videos, like I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I do.
Yeah.
Use this as a base, a starting point for your research, and take what I'm saying and see how it applies to your situation, and then get other sources of information and compile all that to find the best way for you to do something. I encourage people to do that a lot because I don't think you should copy every single thing I do because my situation's different than your situation inevitably.
We have got the special guest is waiting backstage. A quick shout out to Amna, who's joined the channel members as well. Amna is her mania. She has a stand at majority of the shows. Dave's little beast is very, very good friend. Says, evening guys, welcome to the UK, Richard. Looking forward to meeting you in London. I think he's also got a stand.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Amy's Webb has just said congratulations to Layla. Layla's my daughter, and she's just, we don't have the same scholarships in the UK as what we do in the US, but she's 13 and 3 in the whole school have been awarded these scholarships. And what that means is at 13, she'll be working with a world-class researcher and she will be doing a normal everyday school stuff, but on top of that, she'll be doing university level work as well. So we are just blown away by our little girl. Tron's legs and stings put 50 Norwegian krone on and said, Richard, Tron is scorpion crazy. He says, Richard, any plans on more scorpions? Love the bark scorpion videos.
Definitely. I've got a couple of androgynous species I'm working with right now. Excuse me. I also have, of course, like an Asian forest scorpion, some Tidius species. I am trying to think what else. But yeah, I have been talking to a couple people here in the States. One of the things I'm wanting to do kind of in like the second quarter, like, for April, May, and June is branch out a little bit more into covering some true spiders and scorpions. So I got some widows on their way. I got a little spider back here. I've got some huntsman spiders and some Brazilian or some wandering spiders. So I'm going to try and incorporate some, kind of branch out a little bit and do a lot more scorpion and true spider content along with the tarantula content.
You see the way you do your videos and the quality I'm looking forward to, and I'm keeping fingers crossed that you've got a couple of red fangs back there, a couple of black and a couple of gold fangs, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, before I make a video on a species, I want to make sure that I keep it for a while. I get really frustrated when I see, especially if it's somebody I respect, and like, I just got this species, I've never kept it before. Here's how you take care of it. It's like, what? You don't know. You just told me you just got the species. Like, yeah, you can give like the basic information, but I mean, anybody could get that from any video on any species. Like, any subtlety to the species, you really would need to keep it for a while to understand. So, and sometimes, like, I got a T. Celedonia, and people are like, make a T. Celedonia video. And I'm like, I just got it 2 weeks ago. I don't know if it's going to survive. Like, I'm not going to make a video until I've I know I can keep it well, and it didn't survive.
Well,
You know, it seems like a lot of people have that issue. And I actually have had a couple of them from different sources and pretty much copied how whoever the breeder was. Like, this is how we're keeping them, and I did exactly that, and it still ended up dying. They're like, well, they do that. I'm like, well, that is not a species I want to make a video on. Then until they're more established and we've got a better idea of the best way to kind of conduct their husbandry.
I mean, I've seen it myself, and I've stopped watching people, and probably like yourself, just like turned off to them completely when they've done something like that, because it's evident. And if you keep that spider or that reptile or that amphibian or whatever it is for a long period of time, the information that you could have read could have been outdated and not working for you. So you might have changed something and found they've adapted maybe, or got looked into maybe even the temperature they're incorrect. Maybe you've looked at the country of origin and gone, well, the average temperatures are a lot lower than 28. People are saying it's 28, but where they come from, it's only 22. Down in the borough, it might be a different temperature. So I agree with you. I've seen it a lot of times, and I've seen people, go on Canva, get the video clips, put them all together, do a voiceover, and I know for a fact you think you haven't even got that species.
Yeah,
you've not kept that species, so that a lot of that authenticity for me is lost.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of us have got so much respect for yourself, because you've been keeping these animals, like you said, for a long period of time. So you've got the experience, the knowledge, and you said it yourself at the start. You spend hours in that basement, so you spend hours with those animals, watching them, see what they're doing, the characteristics. And if you're anything like me, if you keep a couple of spiders from the same species and you watch them, I'm now starting to notice, after sort of kind of 5 years into it, characteristics between the same species, the same spider, but they're both acting differently.
Yeah, they have different personalities, and I mean, there's some overriding facts that are constant, but yeah, when it gets down to an individual basis, there's ones that are different. Like, I've got one curly hair that is very docile and chill. I got another one that likes to bolt and kick hairs when you just look at it wrong. So I mean, there's not like a hard and fast rule, but I mean, the way I take care of them is pretty much the same. But when it comes to feeding or rehousing or interacting with them, a little bit more careful with the feisty one. So that's, somebody keeps asking this question if I have any reptiles, so I just want to put their mind.
Yeah, I'll just put that. Anton's.
Oh, look, you just put it up there.
Anton loved it when you mentioned Scotland, because he is Scottish through and through, and he keeps green tree pythons and he breeds them. He is a huge fan.
Yeah, I'll give you a list of what reptiles I have at the moment. Two crested geckos, which I don't know. I'm not used to this camera angle, so it's kind of hard to see. I was the wrong way. It's way back here. It's such a strange angle, you can't really see it. But I just got two massive arboreal enclosures, one for each of my crested geckos. So they're getting a very big upgrade. So keep an eye out for that video. I'm still working on letting the plants grow in right now. When I get back from London, I'm planning on filming moving them from their old enclosure into the new one, and then that video will be out within a few weeks of that happening. I also have I've got very basic reptiles. I'll tell you that. So if you're looking for something exotic and super venomous, I'm not the guy. But I've got Eastern king snake, a Californian king snake, and a Mexican black king snake, Pueblan milk snake, banana calico ball python, African bug-eyed house snake, and a couple leopard geckos, and a red-eyed tree frog. And I think that's everybody. If I believe so. And Zach, that's back there, he breeds hognose snakes. So he's been trying to talk me into getting a hognose. Garrett from Reach Out Reptiles is trying to talk me into getting a super dwarf reticulated python, whose enclosure would go right up on this wall over here. So that's a possibility in the near future. So yeah, I try to stay away from like the venomous snakes. And I mean, part of that is just because I've never worked with them before. So I mean, before I kept something like that, I would want years of experience working with people that know what they're doing. But also because I'm not in my house anymore, I'm renting a space, and on the other side is a Taekwondo studio. I don't want really to bring anything that could hurt somebody get out. Yeah, just because there are kids over there. I don't want to pay for the insurance that I need to carry for that, so I stay away from the hot species.
Where's Richard? Wow, one of the venomous snakes got out, went into Taekwondo, the studio, bit one of the students, and the rest of them come and said hello.
Yeah, and I've told this story a few times. I actually have a wolf spider back there. I put her in an enclosure because I moved in here towards the end of January, so the weather was changing from fall to winter, and I was looking at the forecast, and it was like in the 20s and 30s, and then there was like 2 days that it was going to be like in the 60s and 70s, or one day maybe, and then it dropped back down into like the 20s, and I was like, this is the day that I got to move everything, like all the live animals. So that's when I first met Zach and hired him to help me, because I was like, I can't do this all on my own. So he came to my house and we loaded everything in the back of a U-Haul and drove it over and unloaded everything and got all the animals moved in one day while it was kind of warm outside. And then like right after that, the temperature just drops. I mean, it was like down in like 0 for a few days. Then December. So all the wolf spiders that have been living outside are looking for somewhere warm and dry, and they come into the basement. So like I move in, and the landlord and the guy that owns the Taekwondo studio knows what it is I'm doing, and within a week of me moving in, they see all of these big wolf spiders all over the place. So they assume they were mine. And they're like, your spiders got out. I'm like, no, dude, those are common spiders here. Like, those are your spiders, those aren't mine. He's like, we don't have spiders in the basement. I'm like, everybody everywhere has spiders in the basement. You just haven't noticed them.
We've got Lee from the Invert Shows UK sitting just backstage. I think Lee's probably one of the ones that reached out to you to invite you over to the UK.
Yeah, definitely.
So just before Lee comes on screen, A8 Converter Man and his daughter Victoria, his daughter's amazing, have seen guitars on stands in Richard's videos. What sort of style do you like to play to relax stress, or do you just have fun with any inspirations?
Here's my baby right here, my Les Paul. I play, I started off in high school playing a lot of grunge and punk rock. So that was my thing until maybe not. No, that was middle school. And then when I got maybe like sophomore, junior year, I realized I was not getting the attention from girls that I wanted by playing that kind of music. So I got an acoustic guitar and started learning a lot of the songs on acoustic, and and then just from doing that, I kind of, and getting older, I guess I got more into kind of some of the folk stuff and some of the acoustic stuff. And at the time, like Jack Johnson and Dave Matthews and John Mayer and all those guys were getting really big. So and I learned that style of music, and play and sing those songs in the hallway of the high school, and it got me girls. So that was all. I was not good at sports, or wasn't a looker.
So you went from grunge, like people like Nirvana, to then wooing the ladies.
Yeah. And then for a while, like in my 20s and early 30s, I played a lot of bars. That was kind of one of my ways of making money and meeting people. And a lot of times, I kind of shifted. I'd play like a lot of Tom Waits and Tom Petty, and but then also some blues and folk and Johnny Cash. Just stuff that people that were drunk in a bar would like to hear, that I could sing along with, and was enjoyable. So I did that for a while. But yeah, it these days, I don't think I've played publicly in probably 6 or 7 years, 10 years, maybe. I don't even know anymore. It's been a while.
Maybe
I still jam here myself.
Maybe that could be another series on the channel.
So I actually,
and Danny's got a voice and a half on him.
Yeah. That's actually one of the things I've been working on, is like trying to write a song that has to do with tarantulas and like film a little music video. But I haven't been able to write anything that I am happy enough with to put out publicly. But so one day that might be a possibility.
I'll look forward to that. I think we all look forward to that one. So backstage we have Lee Arden. Lee Arden is literally responsible for the Invert Show, so I'm just going to bring him in. He will probably be your point of contact for when you come on Sunday with Danny.
Yeah.
Hey Lee.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. Got your bags packed then? What?
Oh no. What do you think? I'm responsible?
Yeah.
We'll do that about 3 hours before I got to get on the plane.
We'll get the spare tank line.
I'm still trying to get videos edited to release
Yeah.
while I'm gone and make sure everybody's fed.
Same here, like.
Jackie just said it's almost pick on Scott time. The subscribers like to have a little drive at me come 9 o'clock because 9 o'clock's our watershed here. So after 9 o'clock, if you've got any children watching, probably best to remove them from the room because we do drop out the odd swear word. There could be a little bit of adult conversation. And if you know Lee well enough, there will definitely be the odd swear word.
Surely Richard doesn't pack his own bag. I don't know who would do it for me. I couldn't trust my wife to do that. You should see the clothes she would pick out for me. She hates my screen printed t-shirts. She's like, you are in your 40s. You need to stop dressing like a 16-year-old. I'm like, no. T-shirts till I die.
Do you not do a little whistle and the Balfouris come out with your t-shirts and put them all into a suitcase for you, going, Dad, your suitcase is packed.
Feel like Snow White.
So, what about when you introduced me? I'd also like to mention Luke. He's a great. He's also equally as part of the invert shows. There's an equal amount of everything. He's like the guy who holds it all together. So,
Luke Manning.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Oh, you got all these lads to meet when you come over, Richard.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
I mean, 5 years ago, the shows were good. Last year, the shows were good, but Lee and Luke for this year have upped their game. Mm-hmm. The last invert show was got to be my favourite show of all time, full stop. So God knows what this Capital show is going to be, especially with yourself coming. Some of the cracking YouTubers are going to be there as well as. You know Steve Thornton from Tarantula Enclosures as well, don't you? He's going to be there. Obviously, Dave's going to be there. He's going to have a right good time.
Amy's going to be there from Pet Rock and Roll.
Rock and Roll. And Mega Rock helping as well.
Nice.
Mini Rock as well helps out. So do
awesome. Pink, I believe might be there.
Who? Sorry,
Princess Sophie Pink.
She would be on the CFTN stand, I think, if she's there.
Yeah. Who else sent me a message that they would be? A lot of people sent me messages telling me they wouldn't be there, and kind of broke my heart. Like Gar from Arachnitude.
I think the problem is when you think of England, you think it's really small, which I guess compared to, let's say, Texas, it is really small. It's still 12 hours apart. Some of it though.
So yeah, they're like, I gotta drive. That's like an 8-hour drive. I'm like, I did that last weekend to go to St. Louis. You can do it. Like, no, that's way too far. Like, come on. I gotta drive like 48 hours to get to California. You can do it.
For us, like an 8-hour drive is like one of those drives where you sit down and you're worrying about it and you're thinking, no, I've got if we go more than an hour, we're complaining. We are whinging.
I went to college in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the drive from Sioux Falls to where I grew up in Huntington, that was a solid 20. Well, I say 24 hours, but it was like 22 and a half. But I mean, you got to stop for gas and food and stuff. So I mean, it was a 24-hour drive. And my I would try to do it more than once in one. Like I'm just gonna drive straight, and I'd get like 20 hours in and almost kill myself. Be like, all right, I got to pull over and sleep at a truck stop or something.
So we're at that point after about 4. After about 4 hours, us in the UK are all like, had enough of this. Kids whinging in the back, dad shouting, you don't shut up, we're going to go home, and all the rest of it.
Oh, Tarantula Arc is in here. I haven't seen you for a minute. Hope you're doing well. I also haven't done a live stream in God knows how long.
Who are you looking forward to meeting the most when you come over to the UK?
That's not a fair question.
No, all right.
So what we've been working out a list of all the things that Richard has to try: Marmite, Guinness, Camden.
Don't try Marmite. Do not try Marmite.
Just don't give me sick.
There are any great ideas of things he has to try in the 48 hours he's here.
Greg's.
Oh, fuck Greg's, man. We've even got Greg's in Wales now.
Fish and chips.
Yeah, I mean, that's just Not just battered fish
Battered fish,
and fries
chips,
or
all
something.
just in a deep fat fryer, salt
Yeah,
and vinegar. I'm going to probably upset loads of people. Tons of tomato sauce or red sauce.
I like all of that.
Um,
So I'm down for that.
Charlotte says Marmite's the best. Bailey says you got to try the black
Is
pudding.
that like Vegemite? What's Marmite?
Marmite's like Vegemite, yeah, but
Okay.
is it made with brewery yeast insteadly?
I'm not eating
I
any
hate this stuff.
haggis. My grandma used to feed me
So what you
haggis.
definitely got to try after a night of drinking is a kebab.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got to try some in the morning sober as well. See if it tastes the same.
Okay. What? I don't even know what you're saying. Some of the best. Morning saver.
You've got a kebab is basically a heart attack in a naan bread.
Okay.
So
I like all
it's
those
like
things.
the bits of lamb that don't normally hit the plate are kind of squashed together, put on a metal skewer, and then heated up and cooked. And then what they do in the fish and chip shops is they'll just slice off little pieces at a time, and then they'll put it in a naan bread, and then they'll just chuck whatever sauce you want over it, salad over it, and that's your kebab. You can also get like bits of chicken, or it could be another animal. We have no idea in the UK.
Yeah, so they don't call it lamb, they call it doner meat, don't they? So it's
A little bit of cat.
Yeah, Mantis Garden, he thinks there's lamb in a kebab. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Some places in the UK it has been turned out to be not kebab, not lamb.
So I had a guy come visit me, a spider keeper from Israel. So we did the same with him. So all night you got to try this, have a Guinness, have a whiskey, have this. We bought him this kebab, and he fell asleep. In the morning, he woke up and stood on it and managed to cut his foot open on the serrated side of the kebab meat. Where it
Wow.
dried out. Yeah.
Because it's the fat in there that keeps it moist. You take that fat out, and it's just like a piece of cardboard.
Ugh.
You've got many amazing. Just bring a few packed lunches, Richard. You'll be fine. What you'll notice with a lot of our stuff as well, it's very bland and it's very the same colour. So you look at a plate and there might be a little bit of greenery, and the rest of it's like either cream or a brownie colour.
I don't think anyone's ever accused the British of having a great culinary.
No, we rely on people coming into the country to bring in the spices and the flavours and the ideas and all the rest of it. Definitely.
My great grandmother was very Scottish, and the food she made was always. I mean, I was a young kid at the time, but I never enjoyed anything Grandma Gillespie made. I was like, ugh, it's shepherd's pie, it's haggis, you'll love it. I'm like, I don't think so. I can't remember what else she would make, but it was always just weird stuff. She was a bit of a gypsy though.
Haggis is from up in Scotland.
Yeah,
I'm still yet to try that one. Tron says he drives 21 hours and 17 minutes, 1,688 kilometers drive for him. I think that means from where he is over to us in the UK.
Was he up in Scotland or something?
He is over. Oh my god, Norway.
Oh wow, yeah, I'd say so.
He's coming over for one of the other shows a bit later on in the year.
Very cool.
Got a couple of people coming from the USA next year. Jackson's Arachnids.
Awesome.
He's going to come over. Spider Mom, 1978. She's thinking about coming over next year, as well as.
Yeah, now that I've got a passport, that's kind of opened up a lot of opportunities. Might be going to Costa Rica here in a little while.
Which is nice, man. Montverde.
Yeah. Some other stuff, and since I've agreed to do this, people have been reaching out like, hey, do you want to come to Poland? Do you want to come to Germany? Do you want the Dark Den was like, hey, you should come to Croatia. Since you're going to be in London, you should jump over and hang out with me in Croatia. I'm like, I don't feel like that's close.
I think Lee has been to some exotic places of the world. Is there anywhere you'd recommend Richard to go?
Definitely Guatemala over Costa Rica. It's like half the price, but twice as fun. It's also a bit less, kind of touristy. And it's great for spiders. Vegans everywhere, sort of thing. Sabulosa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the main ruins. It's good. Good place to visit.
Yeah, I'm like as into ancient civilizations right now as I am into spiders. So that's one of my goals in the next few years is start hitting up a lot of the places where those two things overlap. Like I want to go to Egypt, check out some scorpions and ruins. Same with like Central America and a lot of South America. Like I want to kind of try and marry those two passions or things that I'm
Is that the
gently
Mayans
obsessed.
over that way?
Yeah, Mayans, the Aztecs, and then there's so many other just different civilizations, especially like down in like Peru and down in that area in South America, like civilizations that were there for thousands of years and then disappeared before the Mayans and the Aztecs even came along.
We've got Stonehenge, and even in the year 2023, we still don't know who built it, how they built it, or even how they got the stones from Wales to where they are now.
Yeah,
which is,
you guys got a lot of hinges.
That's a lot of history just
Yeah.
missing. And it's like we seem to figure out majority of other things that are going on, but when it comes to that type of history, it is completely missing.
Yeah.
So when I went to Stonehenge, so they have like a big fence around the whole thing.
Yeah.
And one night, me and a friend were sat at a pub, and it was his birthday. It's like at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like, well, what do you want to do for your birthday? Because I want to go to Stonehenge. So we all piled in the car and drove down there, assuming there should be some rocks in the field. No, we got there. There's a massive fence around it and security guards. So it's about 4 o'clock in the morning. And security guards said, like, what are you guys doing? So, well, came to have a look. And he actually let us jump over the fence and gave us a personal tour. We all sat
wow.
Stones awesome. Actually look at it.
I won't lie. This goes into the history of me a bit, but back in the day when we had the long hair and all the rest of it, I went to Stonehenge on summer solstice.
Mm-hmm.
So winter solstice, summer solstice, it's opened up and you can actually go right up to the stones. So we spent all night around the stones with all the hippies, they've got horns on the heads and all that, dancing around and doing their thing. A lot of spiritual stuff going off in little corners and pockets of the areas as well. It was awesome, absolutely awesome. I can't say that I believed in everything that people were doing, but the whole experience was pretty cool. Completely different to like the average day in the UK, that's for sure.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I'm just excited to see what it's like over there. I know I won't be there long, but just kind of like being immersed in it, because when I think of the UK, it's pretty limited to shows that I've watched or my wife watches. Like when I think of kind of European culture, it's like Downton Abbey. I've been watching a lot of that.
Truth is, we all wear tracksuits.
What?
We all wear tracksuits.
Tracksuits, gotcha. Kind of like and then like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and a lot of Guy Ritchie movies. Like that's what I think the UK is like.
There was areas like that a long time ago. Not so much now.
Trainspotting was one of my favorite movies for a long time.
That's probably more how it is.
I could
Trainspotting when he went through the toy. Oh my god! Trainspotting was a brilliant one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there we go. Tarantula Torby says, I work with the roads right next to Stonehenge, and I hate it when summer solstice, watching grown men roll around in pig shit on the farms opposite Stonehenge. It's not fun. Oh my god. There's still areas like that, Scott. Trainspotting, all-time favourite, says Dave's Little Beasties.
Yeah.
There's a lot in that film. I've got drugs and all sorts in my history, recovering addict, all the rest of it. So for me to watch that film, I'm always a little bit like, yeah. And depending on who I'm watching it with, I can either talk about it or just sit there going, yeah, I really like this bit. Yeah.
I've been biting my tongue since it came up in the chat. I'm like, I don't know how much I want to expose of myself in my past in this live stream, but I will say that I used to hang out at this Irish punk bar back in my 20s, and they had on the door to the bathroom, it just said like the worst toilet in Scotland. I'm like, we are in West Virginia, but it was bad. It was a horrible toilet.
Oh, some of the little metal pubs in England can be a little bit like you go in the toilet and it's which hole in the floor do you use?
Yeah. No, there's no doors. There's no stalls.
No,
There's puke on them and other things on the walls. It's like, oh god, I don't even need to use the bathroom anymore.
But generally, like, they're the best places to go
Oh yeah, I love that
for,
place. It was
for
it
a
was
good
awesome.
night out because nobody's judgmental in those types of places. Nobody gives a shit. As long as you're smiling, they're smiling. Everybody's happy.
Just enjoying the music.
Yeah, not wishing to be a fun sponge. Remember, you're working the next day. 6
Yeah,
a.m.
crack that
start.
wood.
You know, Danny and Richard is going to be two gingerbeards, one city. The film.
We've got on babysitters. We plan for the worst.
You only need to worry. Well, I don't want to say that.
Just
Not you. I'm worried. Not you. I'm worried about Richard and Danny.
Danny, just have a couple of relentlesses ready for when they get there.
Yeah, I reckon it's gonna be a big show. So what we do this year, if you do like ticket sales, advanced ticket sales, so we can scam people in quicker. So this is good for us because we can actually get a rough estimate of how many people are going to turn up. So roughly ticket sales, advanced ticket sales, roughly 30% of the amount of people turn up. So when you've got like 400 ticket sales already with 3 days to go, so it's a good sign. Sorry, camera's fucked.
Is it overheating?
Sounds like he's taking pictures. I'm gonna go grab something real quick. I'll be right back.
So yeah,
No
whereas in the old days you'd stay in your hotel at night, worrying that no one's going to turn up and look at the right bell end. Now we can sort of predict how many people we're expecting. So as a conservative estimate, I reckon a minimum of 1,200 people, based on the previous shows.
The work that you and Luke have put into making these shows, especially over the last like 2 years, is it shows when you turn up at a show. Some shows you could go to, nothing's happening. There's nothing for kids. There's nothing going on. You walk around, go home, and that's it. Invert shows, there's something happening in every corner. And you can take your kids and you can sit them in front of Nick and you can go and have a quick look round, and they're happy, you're happy. So you haven't got your children going, Dad, can we go now? Can we go? Mom, come on, I want to go home, or anything like that, because they're involved with what, Nick's got a spider out on his hand. They're involved with that, or there's getting the stick insects out, or there's talks with Tarantula Collective going on, and all the rest of it. And if you can't get to the show, you're live streaming it to the which channel are you live streaming it to now?
So we're live streaming to our own YouTube channel, which has all the 5 subscribers at the moment. So if you want to subscribe to that, that'd be great. And also onto our Facebook page.
What's the name of the YouTube channel?
At Invert Shows.
If one of the moderators could whack that link into the comments, that'd be absolutely awesome.
We're always trying new ideas. So that's kind of what we do. We try ideas and see if they work. We've had some bad ideas, haven't worked. A good example was when we had the birds of prey attacking the sponsors in front of everyone. That wasn't so great. But yeah, so any new ideas? So anyone's got any suggestions of things we could try? Like this year, we've got all the workshops, the lectures. We've got the Richard doing the mud wrestling on Sunday. Any ideas? Just bang them out,
In a couple of weeks, he's going to be like inviting the Tarantula Collective to the UK. Bad idea.
That mud wrestling. Are we allowed to apply Vaseline or
what, to the crocodiles?
OC Tarantulas in chat has just dropped that link in. If one of the moderators could also drop the Tarantula Collective's link in, although I would imagine everybody is already subscribed, but if you're not, you're missing out.
Yeah, so what my plan is over time when we do these lectures is we'll put each video onto YouTube so people who miss them or can look back over previous years, because you get so many people talk about such specialist subjects, life cycles of beetles or whatever. It's kind of good to have that information recorded and accessible. And likewise, anyone got any good ideas or wants to come forward and do a lecture, drop me a message and we'll consider it. And what we're trying to get lectures on the more obscure things that have quite a hard barrier to learning to go into it, whether it be ant keeping, beetles, crabs maybe. We wouldn't know how to keep a chili rose, so we try to come up with lectures that bring a new aspect to entomology that you may not know about. Talk about traveling. A lot of people want to travel to go see bugs, let's say, but it's quite a barrier to get your head around. How do I even do that?
How do you do it? Yeah, how do you start off something like that?
So these things, we put in the right direction. We had a great one with Steve Thornton about making backgrounds and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we try and aim to go. But what I want to do, rather than having like lectures where you have some guy talk about obscure cockroaches and everyone just falls asleep. Now, I go to these lectures myself, various entomology lectures, and they're fucking boring. I only go to see my friends. So rather than doing like these boring lectures, I want more hands-on workshops, So I'm pinning dead bugs, so we all might want to try. We all have a dead bug, we might want to learn to taxidermy. So it's kind of where we're going with this. So it's in its early stages. It's only last show we managed to actually get off the ground and have to learn live streaming. That was quite a baptism by fire. As you see, I'm still struggling.
I think taxidermy in the UK is taken off massively.
Well, it's always been there. It's always been there as the
got some up there.
generation keeping dead bugs, which now moved to live keeping, and now it's taken another twist where people use it more of an art taxidermy rather than having boxes full of dead bugs. They're now thinking, how can we use these bugs to produce a picture or produce something worth having on your mantelpiece?
3D scene. So if you've had that, let's say Richard's had a Chilean rose for 20 years and it passes away, it's very dear to you. What better way to keep that memory going, but to have that piece as a taxidermy?
Well, you have Laura from Dead Set Co there, who does a great line in two-headed ducks. So I buy all these ducks with two heads. Every time I want to give a gift to someone to maybe speed along the process, I send them a two-headed duck. Or anyone like spends a lot of money with us, we send them a two-headed duck as like a gift. It's quite an unusual gift when you're in the office to pull out, here's a two-headed duck. Can you do my accounts a bit quicker, please, or whatever.
Time Voyager on taxidermy on Instagram did that one for me. She's pretty shit hotly. I think she's actually coming to the Capital show as well. So after link you guys up. Richard, have you got much taxidermy, and what's the taxidermy like over in the US? Is it a big thing or?
Not as much. I never really was into it at all. I just I don't know. Taxidermy always just kind of creeped me out. Like it's almost like you're looking at a real animal, but there's just something missing. It just doesn't quite look right. Like I kind of feel like it's looking at like an AI rendering of a human. There's that valley of, I don't even know what they call it, but it's like something in my brain is like, that's not real, even though it's a stuffed real animal. I don't know how to describe it, but I started working with this show that called the Tri-State Exotic Animal Show here in West Virginia. This guy's been doing that because we're a small state. An exotic animal show doesn't bring in the crowds, so he started combining it with other things. Like he does tattoo shows, he does oddity shows, and now he's trying to like move them all together. So you'll go to one of our exotic animal shows, and there'll be a couple different booths that are doing tattoos right there, and then you have a whole bunch of oddities dealers, and a lot of those oddities dealers are selling taxidermied animals, and some of theirs have been really good. And then meeting those people, I've started accumulating a bunch of skulls, and like real skulls, animal skulls, and taxidermy stuff. Like for my wife for Christmas, I gave her, it's a long story, but when we were dating, a dead bird was, it's really disturbing. But that was like kind of like a running joke or something. I don't even know. It was like an inside joke. Like she kept seeing feathers on the ground or dead bird, or she kept seeing feathers and was thinking it was like some kind of spiritual, like the universe was speaking to her. And I was like, no, actually what I think it is that you're thinking about feathers and you're just seeing that, you're noticing them. Like they've always been there. You're just noticing them because you're thinking about it. I was like, for instance, just start thinking about dead birds. And I bet you start seeing dead birds everywhere. And then like a week later, she was like, I hate you. Now I see dead birds all the time. So I got her a snow globe that had a dead bird in it, a sparrow, like it had been taxidermied, and it was kind of just sitting in glycerin and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is creepy, but it's also kind of cool and has some significance to our relationship. So I got her that. And Laura from Grey Ghost Creation's been sending me some of her taxidermy tarantulas and these cool little displays. So I've been starting to get a bit of a collection. And I went to grab this just because I wanted to show this to everybody.
That's Grey Ghost.
What's that?
That's from Grey Ghost.
Yeah, she does amazing.
She is
amazing stuff.
What she does is amazing, absolutely amazing.
It's hard to see, I think, how amazing it is when you're just
looking
at a picture on the internet, but when you got it in your hand and you can see all of the pencil lines and you're just like, that is a whole lot of work. Like that's a lot of detail.
I thought that was a photograph till it came, and then I was like, "Oh my word,
Like,
this
who
is
spends the
just
time to draw all of this sete? Like my hand
yeah."
would be hurting. But I wanted to let everybody know that Tarantula Cribs, I just received this package, and
Hold on,
these
there we
are
go.
they're nothing like crazy wild, but he sent me about a dozen of these little spiderling enclosures because he doesn't really sell them in the UK at all just because shipping's so expensive and he hasn't figured out a
Yet
distributor over there yet. But every time I talk about him, a lot of people from the UK are asking about him. So
I've asked a few times. Yeah,
so he sent me some of these to give away to people at the show. So you come by, say hi, and I mean I have a very limited amount of whatever I can fit in my suitcase. But I'll have some of those to just give away to people at the show.
just get a pen and write Scott on one now.
Okay.
If that's all right. But then there's also going to be at the show some big vendors. So there could be opportunity to shoot a load over to the UK in one go.
I don't think that means the same thing in the US as it does in the UK. You don't shoot loads anywhere in the United States.
Send a lot of the tarantula cribs over to the UK, maybe for a UK vendor to sell.
It's so expensive. It is.
I've seen quite a few people going, we want the tarantula crib stuff. Danny's actually in chat, keeper cards. He's at work, so he couldn't join the stream along with yourself and Lee. He says, evening all, sorry I can't join you tonight, but we'll be great hanging out with Richard this weekend and seeing Lee and yourself, Scott. He is awesome. Absolutely awesome guy.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting him in person. I don't know if Harry is still in the chat, but he was asking a question over and over again, and I wanted to answer it, but he may have got frustrated and left. But he was asking if I was going to be keeping a lot more venomous spiders. Now I have the studio.
Do apologize, Harry. Thank you. Richard, are you getting into more venomous spiders as you've moved to the new facility, or do you think you'd have got a few back in the house?
Yeah, I don't have anything at the house now, except for a dog and 2 cats. Like everything is here. And part of the reason I didn't keep a whole lot of really venomous stuff was because my granddaughter was around and now she's living with us full time, and I have a son, and I mean he's 14 now, but I mean he was much younger. And
did you say granddaughter?
Yeah, I'm an old man.
No, you're not. No way, you're a granddad.
My wife had her first kid. I mean, way before we met. You know, she was 20. And then Maggie was about 20 when she had her kid. So now we've got Rosie, who's just turned 4. And
if you don't mind me asking, then Richard, what? Tell me to shut up, and I certainly will. But how old are you?
Oh, geez, let me do math. 42, 40.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I'm over 40. I know that. I stopped counting once I hit 40. I was like, all right.
You're 3 years younger than me. I thought you were early 30s.
Oh,
and that's not me going, hey, Richard. That's me just being deadly serious.
It was probably all the drugs I did in my 20s. They preserved my body instead of aging me.
I wish that worked for me and Lee.
But yeah,
thank you, mate. Choke on.
But yeah, now I feel like that I have this space. I have a little bit more freedom, and I don't. My wife is very supportive, but there were some lines in the sand. You know, she's like, I'm cool with you having 200 tarantulas in the basement, but I don't want any roaches. And she was super paranoid that one was going to get loose, and, you know, just the house would get filled up with roaches. No roaches, no ants, no, and like stereotypically scary spiders. Like I had a black widow for a while, and it just caused her a lot of anxiety. And I tried to explain to her, like, it's not nearly as like nobody's died from a bite since like the early 80s. And even then it's very, very rare. But, you know, she has been, you know, hearing that propaganda her entire life. And it's kind of like, she felt like I was soft selling it. You know what I mean? Like the truth, like there's what Richard says, and then there's what society says. And the truth might be somewhere in the middle, but I'm going to err on the side of caution. And I don't want that in my house. So I ended up bringing it to my office because my boss was cool. He was like, yeah, that's awesome. Have a black widow on your desk. And we'd show it to customers and stuff. But yeah, now I'm here. That's one of my goals. I think we talked about the beginning of this. Oh, I don't even know if we were on air when we started talking about that. But yeah, I'm looking to, I've got some wandering spiders. I've got some androgynous species as far as scorpions. and I am sourcing right now, trying to get a good mixture of different species of widows, like red widows, brown widows, black widows, a lot of lacrodectus and things of that nature. And I want to start making a lot more content on widows and huntsman spiders, wool spiders, just stuff that is pretty common, but there's a lot of misinformation and just
Yes.
just try to get some beautiful. Like, oh man, one of my favorite spiders to photograph and film is the black widow. And sometimes some of those spiders that are a lot faster, especially the true spiders, I shied away from filming, mainly because it was just really difficult, especially in my basement, a very small space, and I was surrounded by lights and tripods and just boxes and cases and bags and enclosures. So if the spider got off the table, it was very easy for it to run and hide somewhere, and it would be I'd have to start pulling shelves off the walls and stuff like that to get to them. But here I've got so much space and I have a dedicated area for filming, and they're not back here anymore, but I've got Zach, I've got Angela helping me out. And Zach is invaluable when it comes to filming because it gives me the ability, like there's somebody there constantly watching the spider. So I can focus more on filming and not have to like play two roles of like corralling the spider safely and
Yeah,
filming.
I know
So
how that feels.
yeah, and I've custom built these tables back here. I mean, it's hard to see on screen, but I mean they're like 8 feet by 4 feet. So you get a 6-inch spider in the middle of it. It starts bolting. It's going to run out of steam usually before it gets to the end. And the way it's set up, it's flush to the wall. So if it runs away from me, it's just going to hit that wall and stop. And then I'm in the front of it, and then I got Zach, that kind of is going around, and it's just a lot safer for everybody. And that's going to give me the ability to work with a lot more of these more venomous and faster species in the future. So yeah, that's going to be cool.
Six,
How are the red
six months
fangs doing?
has
Mm,
just said, "How are the red fangs doing?" And
if-
also says, "Apologies for joining late. Don't apologise for joining a stream late." And quickly, Happy Ant has been a channel member for 24 months. Thank you, dude.
Are you asking? I had one red fang. I took some photos of it and really liked it, and would just never had a chance to film it. I kept it for months and months and was just kind of nervous because every time I'd photograph it, it would bolt after I get a couple shots. And I was like, this is going to be really sketchy to film on my own. So I was waiting until I had somebody to kind of help me out. And then it ended up dying of old age which happens a lot with true spiders. Like I seem to get a lot of true spiders, and then it takes me 6 or 8 months or, a year. And by the time I'm like, okay, now I can film it. I've been keeping it for a while. I feel comfortable with it. And then it just dies of old age. That's the downside, I think, with a lot of the true spiders that just don't live more than, a year or so.
I've got a fascination with true spiders now. It's mainly down to this guy down here keep sending me messages kind of 2-3 years ago, going, "Scott, we've got these ones in," and I'm going, "Oh my god, what is it? Where's it come from?"
Had a big jump in the last like 5 years. The amount of captive bred species is just phenomenal. Got a lot of dedicated keepers, and a lot of this come from jumping spiders. That's kind of like the catalyst in all of this. So when we first did the first imports, jumping spiders in the USA, we looked at them, well, they're kind of cool, aren't they? Within 2 years, they just skyrocketed. Then in 5 years, there's now more jumper breeders than there are transfer breeders, and it's just
one of my favourite true spiders. I'm just curious if you've actually seen it in the wild, Richard, which is the Hogna Miami.
Is that the fishing spider?
No, that's the Dolocomedes, isn't it, Lee? The fishing spider?
Well, me and my son were out in the Everglades, was it last year? Looking for Dolocomedes. And it's great fun. Especially because you find the alligators next to them. Like,
so which one are you asking about?
The Hogna Miami.
No, the Dolocomedes ocyphicensis.
That one, yes. I kept one for a while. I got from Tom Patterson. But and then I think the other one I got is the one that you're talking about, Scott.
Yeah, the biggest one. They're about 12 centimeter leg span out full size.
Yeah, and a lot of those spiders are, like I bought them and was learning a lot about them, or he sent them to me. He was like, "Hey, you should check these out." And he sent them to me, and then as I'm researching, I'm like, "Those are like right down the road from me." I live on a creek. We've got fishing spiders on the creek that some of them were the same species. The same with jumping spiders. Like I And black widows. Like I made that post asking who had black widows for sale. Just I mean, I knew who did. It was more just like trying to get some engagement and get people excited and stuff like that. And I got a lot of comments like, just go outside, dude, and grab some.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the same with jumping. Like I've saved jumping spiders a lot. They get wedged into menus at drive-throughs and stuff like that. It's like they are everywhere.
There's a lot of, like,
Paying
other
$50
stuff
for one
right.
is like, why would you do that when it's right outside? But I don't know. There's something about knowing you're getting one that's kind of been ethically sourced, or you know what I mean? Like you're not pulling one out of the wild. You feel better about keeping it as a pet, knowing that it was maybe not bred in captivity, but maybe it was hatched in captivity.
See, I mean, us in the UK, we have to have specialist licenses and all sorts to keep stuff like that. And my wife has literally just turned around and she said, Scott, you know, I said, no more spiders after 4. I said, no centipedes, you've got centipedes. I said, she also said, no scorpions and all the rest of it, and we've got everything. But what she has said is, when it comes to the DWA stuff, we've got the kids, because this is the kitchen where I am, we've got the kids in the other room. So she said, look, when we move house and you can have your stuff in an exterior building, that's when we can go for DWA. So when a channel like yours says, oh, I've got Black Widows on, I'm literally instantly like, oh, wow. It's we've got false widows, the Striatoba nobilis in the UK, the false widows, they get a lot of bad press, but they're nowhere near as bad as what that bad press makes out.
Right.
What I like about them is the big abdomen and those long but real skinny legs. Almost look like they can't carry their own body weight, but they do, so angelic like as well.
And they're so pointy, like, and smooth look. I don't know. And that's one of my favorite things about doing macro photography. Like, because you see it, but then when you look at it at a lens and it's like 5 times or 10 times magnified, like it's like a whole other animal sometimes. You're like, wow, I didn't even, especially like tarantula eyes. I could just do nothing but photograph tarantula eyes just because I find them so fascinating.
Yeah. But in the UK, that last 5 years, I've seen all these true spiders now available, not first generation captive bred, but several generations. I'm talking things like, you know, your huntsmans, your ogre face spiders, things that maybe 10 years ago you would never thought you'd even keep alive. That we've now got these keepers in the UK who've just smashed it. You know, they breed these things regularly. Raising a tarantula is dead easy. Raising a 2 millimeter true spider is a challenge. Yet these people have been successful. You know, and not only that, they've passed on this information. They've got these specialist groups. They all network very well. You know, I've got people I even go ask questions to. You know, I was asking one of this ladies this week, your ogre face spiders, you know, when you separate them, that knowledge is getting passed around, and we have great results. And so I'm kind of glad to see now that true spiders have an equal amount of measure on some traders' lists as now tarantulas. Where it used to be like 100 species of tarantulas and maybe 2 types of true spiders, that balance is now shifting where you're seeing bigger listings of more arachnids available.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be the toughest part about going into this show is just seeing all the different species you all have available that we just don't have here in the United States, whether it's just for like people just don't know about it, or it's not popular enough for somebody to bother carrying, or it's you know, issues with the Lacey Act or CITES or something like that. Like we just can't get it.
The good thing with true spiders, though they have that shorter lifespan, they're generally a lower value animal, so it's more interest driven, you know. It's not like, you know, say with tarantulas where I was trying to breed Celadonias and ex-nephis because they're £100 spiderlings. You've got this whole people who's generally interested in buying lower cost animals for the sake of breeding them, you know, swapping animals around, passing them around. It's kind of it's a different hobby. It's hard to explain. But
Jeremy from Jeremy's Wild World will be there at the show, and his table is literally just purely true spiders. And 80 to 90% of those on display are going to be what he's actually bred in his bedroom. He's currently converting his garage to have a full dedicated setup. We've had lads on with Jeremy in the past talking about true spiders, and their setups are just as impressive as what we're doing in the tarantula hobby. But the only thing with the true spiders, obviously, they don't live as long, which can be a bit upsetting. But I think half the time that's reflected with the price as well, because true spiders tend to be a bit more cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also something to be said about something with a short lifespan. You know, I feel like you know, especially like with jumping spiders and some of the true spiders that I've kept in the past, I feel like I appreciate them a lot more knowing that I have a very limited amount of time with them. You know, like you got a
So,
tarantula that's going to live 20 or 30 years. You know, I don't feel like it's as special every moment I get to spend with them as it is working with some of these smaller spiders. If that makes sense.
right, this week we had all these Neotheli, I think Priseglensis, probably more than one species. And we just let 50 of them go up in all the attic, like chucked them up. So kind of someone for myself who's done spiders commercially for 20 years, to go do something like that, which is a new way of keeping or something. It was exciting for me. You know, we were up in the attic, giving them all names, throwing crickets in their webs. Yeah, we all sat there watching it. Like, so, you know, it's like something fun still to do, something new to try. And maybe next year when there's 50,000 babies up there, it might be a different story. But yeah, it's been quite a good experience for us. It's meeting webs going around. We have quite old buildings, old train, and these webs. And I assume they're quite static animals, but they're not. They move around and build new webs in 24 hours. I haven't always seen these things in the wild. You used to assume they should live there forever. So this week I found no, they fucking don't. They move around and build new webs every night. And every night we go in from
a quick shout out to Happy Ant says, right, I'm off again, just popped in to say hello. Hope you all enjoy the amazing stream. Cheers, Callum. Wasn't it you, Lee, that did the whip scorpions?
I never heard the end of that. Never heard the end of that.
Nope.
Well, it's a good idea. It worked. The problem is, you know, when I put it on Facebook, I didn't realize this thing get picked up by newspapers and shared around everywhere. It still haunts me today. And the worst thing about it is I deleted the post straight away because I thought it was probably not the best look for the hobby. But yeah, now I get everyone else sharing and getting the credit for it. So, oh, bloody hell, that's my idea. You know, I see on like all sorts of channels, you know.
That was awesome picture. When somebody showed me and said that's Lee, I was like, is it? Because again, somebody else had shared it and not credited you.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm going to say when the attic is full? I'm going to be like, Lee, can I come and just put a camera up there? That's it.
So the guys did it. So we let someone go and see what happens. I said, well, did you let the males and females out at the same time? Said, yeah. Wasn't a great idea, was it? Shouldn't just the females or just the males. So yeah, hopefully things will breed. You know, they catch them the flies like.
Very cool. I'm gonna have to go here in a few minutes. I don't typically, I feel like bougie at the moment because you guys are watching and I've got 2 employees working here. Usually it's just one. I'm training the other girl to take care of the animals while I'm gone. So I got to talk to her for a little bit before she has to go to her real job. So I got to get off in a few minutes. I just want to give you a heads up.
No worries, Richard. Really, really appreciate your time. I mean, we were chatting via email and you said you could do an hour. I mean, for people watching, Richard is just so busy. Lee is so busy. I mean, I've got a family, I do YouTube and there's other bits that go on. And to think about what you guys do on top of all that family life and then connecting with your old friends that aren't in the hobby and stuff like that as well. Wow. Do you ever get a time to chill?
No. I got a 4-year-old and a 14-year-old at home and a wife and this is where I come to chill.
Wife, that's enough.
I come to work to relax.
Make it look easy, but what you don't see is just nights of working like.
Yeah.
So
I get a lot. I get frustrated. I'm sorry, I keep talking over you, Lee. I apologize.
So you work all day, then all night I'm doing the show stuff. And it's endless, you know, endless.
It's when you go to bed, you close your eyes and you can still see your phone screen. That's the one.
Have you got just any roses? Not at midnight, haven't they?
No. Yeah.
I spend way too much time making videos. I think that's one of my biggest faults is, you know, it'll be a 8 to 12 minute video and I will have spent, I mean, just like researching and writing the script and then setting up all the lights and everything and then filming it and filming the B-roll and then editing it and then color grading it and then doing all the SEO kind of just stupid stuff to try and get the video recommended in search and all that. You know, like a 10-minute video I'll end up spending 30, easily 30 hours on. And then
Wow.
somebody leaves a comment and like complains about some little thing, like I didn't like the music in this part.
Oh,
Like
oh,
that's it. Like that. If that's your only complaint, I feel pretty good about what I put out.
the
But then a
best
video
one.
doesn't do well, and it's like, well, that was a waste of a week, And that's part of the reason I ended up trying to hire somebody to help me. I essentially just do like the dirty work, like cleaning water dishes and cleaning enclosures and stuff like that. It's because that frees me up to be able to hopefully start making even more content. And people get upset you don't respond to their comments or their emails, and I try to do that as much as I can, but sometimes it's just it's impossible. You'll send me a message and I'm busy, and then by the time I sit down to look at messages, I've got 100 other messages on top of it, and it just kind of gets buried. But I've been trying to talk my wife into quitting her job and coming to work here for me, which I don't think she'll actually ever do. But I was like, I just need somebody to help me like respond to emails and respond to messages. And, you just something as simple as saying thanks. Somebody's like, hey, I love that video. You have the time to say
means the
thanks.
world,
I mean,
doesn't
it
it?
makes a world of difference to them. And I feel bad that I'm not able to respond to all those comments. And I figured that she could help me, with some of that stuff. And, but it's also, she has the real job, she's got the city income with the insurance and stuff. So it's a big risk to stop doing that and come here and work with me. Because I don't make a whole lot of money.
I think one of my favourite criticisms I've ever had was literally somebody commented and they said, "Will you get your beard trimmed? It's that uneven. It's making me want to unsubscribe." And I was like, What's my beard got to do with the content that's in these videos? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then there was somebody else where I'd done a video about slings, and I basically said, look, in my humble opinion, I don't think slings are best for a beginner because they're very small, they're very fragile. Something can happen that's out of your control. Within that spider, you're never going to know. And if one passes away, it could put you off the hobby. And I had somebody literally, they didn't even watch the video because they just commented straight on Facebook going, there was a seller. They're literally like, oh no, I think you're completely wrong. There's nothing like watching one grow from a tiny adult all the way up to a big spider. But I thought, will you please just watch the video? Then you'll understand.
Yeah, my favorite. I uploaded. I have a friend that's a chef here in town, and he also has a YouTube channel. He came over. We're gonna try to like do a little cross collaboration, and just I don't know if it was it's something like I don't even remember the title of the video, but it was something like a chef comes for inspiration on a tarantula dish or something like that. And the video wasn't doing well, so I changed the thumbnail and included like a kind of a picture on the side of a guy eating a tarantula. So people didn't watch the video. They didn't even read the description. They just saw that there was a chef involved and a small little thing in the corner of a guy eating a cooked tarantula, and just assumed that the whole video was about how to cook tarantulas. And there's just the hateful comments that started coming. I'm like, I can't even give you any credit because you obviously didn't watch the video. you read the title or you saw the thumbnail and assumed you knew what was in it. And really what he was doing was just kind of taking a tour of the studio and learning about how we gut load feeders to make sure the tarantulas get all their nutrition, and trying to find a way to gut load human food. So you think you're eating something that is technically not good for you, but it's full with all these good vegetables and stuff. And I thought it was pretty clever kind of cross collaboration, but it was just so funny. Like just like the comments some people left, how upset they got over something that didn't actually ever happen.
Some people, just literally, just looking at the post that I put onto Facebook, and then a seller outside of the UK literally just commented. I read the comment, and I was just like, will you please, thumbs it down. You don't even have to subscribe, but just please watch the content before you actually pass a judgment. But I suppose we all do it all the time. You go into a shop, you like the attractive packaging on one Mars bar or one chocolate bar, and you pick that up instead of another.
Yeah.
I suppose it's just in this day and age, it's easy to pass judgment in a split second, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it used to really bother me. I take it very personally. Like, wow, they're complaining about the music, or they're complaining about the way I color graded it, or something. I took that as a reflection on me. Like, if they don't like that, that's who I am. I made that, so there's an aspect of me they don't like. But I've started to move away. Sometimes I still kind of fall into that trap. I'll see a negative comment and take it very personally, and sometimes I'll reply and it starts a whole big thing, and I'm like, that was dumb. When am I going to learn this lesson? Like, don't engage with the trolls. But
Yeah.
it's also, I've kind of changed my perspective on it, that I can read it and be like, I don't agree with it and it's mean, but the algorithm doesn't know that it's mean. It sees it as engagement. So like talk all the trash you want, because all you're
Yeah.
doing, all the algorithm is seeing is comments
Activity.
and engagement, and that people are responding to this. So we're going to push it to more people. And, you know, and you can just go through my videos, and sometimes the ones that I don't want to say like the elites, but you know, like the old heads, the people that have been here for a while that think everything should be strictly encyclopedic. Any content should be just straight educational, no entertainment value at all. Yeah, those are the videos they get the most upset with and leave the most comments that end up doing the best because of all the engagement. It's like, I don't want to be Jake Paul or somebody like that just does controversial stuff to get engagement. But if something I do has a little bit, if it upsets those people, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I used to think it was. If that makes, I don't know. I feel like I'm talking to you. I don't know if I'm making any sense. People are like, we don't care.
No, definitely.
Algorithms. We're here to talk about spiders.
Do you ever look at somebody like Jake Paul's content and think, I wonder how I could get that same type of impact, but with the spiders?
No, not at all. I really don't enjoy anything he makes. It's not something I want to aspire
Thank
to.
for that.
You know, I like people like, I mean, when it comes to YouTube, I've stopped watching a whole lot of the Tarantula channels for mainly because I felt like I didn't want to rip anybody off. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to watch, you know, somebody like you and be like, oh, that's a good idea, and then make a video and then you like be like, he just stole my idea, and because he has a bigger audience, it's people are going to think it's his idea.
This is what
I ran into that a few times.
I did Anna's the Spider Goddess video about 6 months ago. And somebody said, yeah, one person said to me, the Tarantula Collective has nicked your idea, and I've gone, I doubt if he's even fucking seen it.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
We're like, yeah, but and I've gone, yeah, but it makes no difference to me because it's spider content getting out there.
Yeah.
You
that
know,
started,
I was like, I steal his content every day. I do a care video. Richard's already done one of the same species. It's just somebody else, same information, different setup, different style, different perspective. It can only be good for the hobby.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. I just got really into just ancient civilizations and studying them and finding like almost every civilization had some kind of god or goddess that was tied. I was like, I want to do a whole series of videos talking about just the different goddesses or gods that had some kind of tie to the spider, and it is not going well. Like I really enjoy researching it. Like I just uploaded one today, and I mean, last time I checked it, normally at this time a video would have like 5,000 views. I don't even think it has 1,000. Like it's not something my audience is responding to, but I really enjoy researching them and writing them and making them. Yeah, the video's got 705 views right now. Typically would have 4.5 thousand. So I haven't even broke 1,000. So I know that my audience.
I'm happy to break a couple of hundred.
But I'm hoping that at some point something's going to click. You know, I mean, I've got 10 more written, or maybe 9 more written at this point. So it's like I'm just going to keep putting this stuff out about spiders and ancient civilizations, and at some point, hopefully, something will click in the algorithm. And maybe it's not people that are into tarantulas that like my content, but maybe people that are into ancient civilizations or something. Like they'll catch on. They'll start watching those videos, and by watching those videos, YouTube will start recommending other videos that I make, and that's like part of the goal of my whole channel is to try and reach beyond the tarantula hobby into normal people, I guess you could say, and show them, like introduce them into this world and try to attract people into it. And I feel like that might be a good way of doing it. You know, like I might be able to pull some people and have them considering keeping a pet tarantula or a pet invertebrate that never even knew that was something they could do. And just because they watched a video about an Egyptian goddess that had some ties to tarantulas or spiders. So yeah, that's my goal. So even though the videos aren't doing really well, I have faith, I hope that in a year or two, it might change. Because that's one of the weird things with YouTube is a video could do really well initially, and then a month later nobody's watching it at all. That happens with a lot of the US Arc update videos I do. They'll do really well for the first 2 weeks, but then that's just like breaking news and nobody cares anymore. But then years later,
I find your US art videos really interesting because obviously in the UK it's completely different, and people are mentioning it here. And instead of having to flick through tons of paperwork on an internet site, Richard puts out a 5-minute video, and you've took every single point from it. And the positive thing for me is you put it in idiot terms so I can understand it.
Yeah, when I make videos like this is going to sound bad. Hopefully she never watches it, but I'm like, how do I explain this to my wife who really is not in the invert hobby at all? So I try to make a video that would be something that she would understand, and then I'm like, the general public or people that just aren't familiar with what's going on, they'll have a better understanding this way.
Because obviously you've had the tragedy with the snake death or the snake murder. I'm going to say recently, mate. That had a lot of us in tears, very angry in the UK. The real workers.
Yeah, that was brutal. It was very disturbing to watch. And it's one of those situations that's like, sometimes when stuff like that happens, like a lot of people were making videos about it on YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. But the problem I was watching those videos because I wanted the information, but it's like there wasn't a whole lot of information. Like you could say this is what happened, but the other shoe hasn't fallen yet. We don't know like what's the FWC going to do about it. What are these officers like? What kind of trouble these officers are going to get into? Will there be any kind of compensation? Like, you know what I mean? Like the story hasn't been told yet. So it's like personally for me, I want to kind of wait until there's a lot more information and a call to action. And it's also like I'm not a snake guy, if that makes sense. So it's I kind of feel like I mean, what if a guy that makes content on ball pythons or something like that, or any kind of reptile started like covering tarantula news? It's kind of be like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. That's not your world. So a lot of people are like, you need to make a video on this, and I'm like, what? That I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that in a way that would be helpful. I don't want to just make a video because it's going to get clicks, and if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like I'm not expressing myself very well, but there's some situations that go on. It's like I want to wait until it plays out before I kind of comment on it.
How many times has somebody come up to you and said, Richard, you must make a video on this, or you need to do your content with this instead of doing it
every single day? Emails, comments. I mean, I gotten death threats before over things that I've said. I'm like, wow. I hope you and all your spiders die because I disagree with you on your opinion. Just like, that's just ridiculous. Like, why did you take the time to email me that? I have his full name now.
If you get something like that, though, do you take something like that serious?
Not really, no. I mean, I'm a pretty private guy, so I mean, but I'm also we're in West Virginia, man. Like I don't know what it's like in the UK, but you just assume everyone has a gun on them or a gun in their car, or their guns in their house. Like you don't fuck with people because you might get shot.
Where I am in the UK, a place called Coventry, obviously, our laws are different when it comes to guns. We can't carry, you can't conceal carry, can't do any of that. Yeah. You have to have proper licenses, and the way you carry a weapon is the actual gun is in one compartment of a case inside your boot of the car, and the firing pin is out and in a different, separate, locked up area with the ammo.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to unlock the actual box, put the gun together, put the ammo in before you could even pull the trigger. But again, the checks and the stuff that you have to go through is really difficult. So what people do here, because knives, you go down the shop and buy them, we have knife crime is just ridiculous. Coventry city centre, the town centre, all cameraed up. When I say city, it's probably more like what you're used to being as a town.
Yeah.
All cameraed up, and there was somebody got stabbed and killed 2 weeks ago in the town centre. Yeah. An old lady was killed being thrown off a bridge because that was part of the gang thing.
Yeah.
So it can be pretty scary. I mean, I've got a 13-year-old, and she's always like, "Oh, can I go meet my friends in town?" And it's Saturday, and we try and find an excuse not to say yes. So I'll be honest.
Yeah. So
we try and discourage it. But when we do have to we ain't got an excuse, so we have to let her go because she's 13 and she needs that freedom. Right. We've got an app, Live 360, and me and the wife are literally just staring at it, seeing where she's going. And like if she's in one place for like more than 10 minutes, it's like, oh, we're just phoning you just to let you know it's not raining, or just finding an excuse just to make sure everything's all right.
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't want to get into the
Richard's
whole.
currently cancelling his flight to the UK.
Last week in Wales, someone got stopped for speeding.
I feel like I would rather.
Yeah, literally. Wales, you get stopped for speed, and that's about it. If they've got a camera. If you do ever get the chance to visit Wales and Scotland, Richard, highly, highly recommend it.
Oh yeah, Scotland. That was like on my list of things I wanted to do, but Danny was like, "There's just not enough time."
So there is another show in Scotland that Lee runs.
Yeah, Glasgow show.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite shows actually, because the Scottish people are super nice.
Let's see how this show goes first before we try to guilt him into invite me back out.
Yeah. We go to the Scottish show and everyone volunteers to help. Like people offer us places to stay. They bring you all the Scottish food to try. They really are some of the nicest people. Yeah, and as a show, it's a very friendly atmosphere.
Yeah,
I think also in Scotland they're very happy to have a show there, you know, because it's so far north. It's definitely our hardest show to get traders there, but we want our easiest shows to get people there. So if you're in the Highlands, you're traveling 4 hours to a show, you're going to do it to Glasgow, but you're not going to come down to England. So yeah, I really love the Scottish shows. It's my favourite ones of the year.
Yeah, maybe one day that would be very cool.
Hey Raymond, Raymond Scott asked Richard to visit Northern Ireland sometime as well.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
You fly me out there. I'll go about anywhere you want to send me.
Lee, that's down to you.
Welsh show.
We need a Welsh show. There's so many people crying for a Welsh show.
Well, let's say that. So when we plan the shows, how I do it, so I run the geographic data through our own sales. So I used to know the right catchment areas. So as much as I'd love to have a show in Wales, now someone suggested Swansea. The reality is there's not enough people there that would travel to it. Now you think the biggest towns in Wales are Cardiff and Newport, but that's only half an hour from Bristol show. So there's no real big advantage moving on into Wales. You know, it'd be great for me. I'd go home halfway for a shit, but it's just not enough people there. I am half planning to do a Northwest show, maybe in Warrington or something like that, somewhere between Liverpool and Manchester. That was then quite close to all of North Wales. But that's top secret, actually. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe after 2 bottles of beer.
Keep drinking, Lee. Keep drinking. Yeah. Get some more down here.
So
I am going to have to get off here.
Because our Bristol show, which is our biggest show of the year, is, you know, within half an hour, the 2 biggest towns in Wales. Do you know what I mean? You know? So check out the Bristol show. It's going to be massive this year. We're going to go for 250 tables.
That's Darcy. Lee loves Yorkshire tea, Scott. Loves Yorkshire tea. Everyone loves Yorkshire tea. That is something, Richard, that I personally would love you to try when you come to the UK, is a British cup of tea. Mm-hmm. If it's not with myself at the show, please ask for a Yorkshire cup of tea. Yorkshire tea bags.
Okay, I will do that. Danny said he's going to make me a proper cup, whatever that means.
That should be with Yorkshire tea. Yeah.
Make you a proper cup of tea.
Are you going to bring him some American coffee?
Do I need to? I figured they had coffee there.
we want the square spray on cheese, the aerosol can cheese.
You know, I had not eaten Cheese Whiz in probably 15, 20 years. And Danny told me, like, there's no Cheese Whiz here. I went out and bought a can that night. What? Man, I forgot all about Cheese Whiz.
You can imagine a can of Lynx, but it sprays out cheese. Yeah.
What? It's like whipped cream, but cheese. You just
why haven't we got that here?
I don't think it's real cheese.
It probably wouldn't be legal.
It's mainly chemicals. it looks like cheese.
I would put 2 stone on in about 2 weeks. I'd be everything up for chips, everything.
Like you look at the ingredients and there's nothing you can pronounce.
Not much cheese. Richard, so I'm conscious of your time. So one of the other questions that I wanted to ask you was, being follower of the Buddhist ways, how does that affect your life? What's it about? How does it affect you as a person and you as a channel? Because for me, it seems really animal loving, peace loving, very gentle, very quiet type of existence.
Yeah.
And how could you, or do you use it as a stress relief as well as? And is there any tips that you could pass on to us lot that we could utilizing everyday life with that as well for us that get a bit stressed?
Sure. I mean, I was just a really angry person. I graduated high school. I moved away from my parents and went to college. And I mean, I don't know what it was. Just my personality was just, and then I would drink a lot and stuff like that. And it was just anger would come out and all the things that kind of come with anger when you're intoxicated. And, it was a rough decade for me. And I had studied Buddhism,
Hi, Dave.
along with a bunch of other religions and stuff like that in college, and I really identified with the philosophy, and I really like the fact that technically it's not like there's definitely sects that have turned it into a religion, but in its pure form, it's just a philosophy. There's no deity to worship or anything like that, and that was something I could really kind of identify with. But more than anything, it was just that struggle to constantly try to find balance, to find that middle path, like because I was living in extremes. It was like if I'm drinking everything, if I'm getting high, I'm using everything, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like I can find some way. If I'm angry, I'm fighting. There's no like talking, and so I was like,
Thanks
I,
for
I
that.
gotta find some way to live a more balanced life. And yeah, and that was one of the cool things about keeping tarantulas at that same time where I've kind of shifted my focus. I mean, I always like studied a lot of Buddhist philosophy and writings and teachings and stuff like that, just because I enjoyed it, just the way it bent my mind and changed my perception of reality. But then when I stopped, drinking and using, and was able to really practice some of the meditation and stuff, I saw a drastic change in my life, and I was learning things like patience. Like I had no patience. It was like now I want an instant gratification. I want to feel good right now. So I'm gonna take this drug and it's gonna fix me. And tarantulas went hand in hand with that because you can't rush a tarantula. You know what I mean? You can't. I get questions like, "How do I make my tarantula molt faster?" I'm like, "You don't. You learn patience. You learn patience. How do I get my tarantula to eat?" I'm like, "You don't. You be patient."
Yeah.
The tarantulas are the best teacher of just waiting and being content with how things are, and just watching tarantulas, like the way they live their life. Like how they can be, just so stoic and relaxed in a situation, and then that stimuli comes, and there's food available, and they can pounce on it and take it. And they're just, I don't know. There's so many things about tarantulas that I found brought me a lot of peace. And I would like my wife would tease me. She's like, it's not so much a collection of tarantulas as it is your Zen garden, because I would be stressed out from work, stressed out from family stuff, and I'd be like, I just need to go build an enclosure. Like
Yeah.
I would make enclosures for spiders that wouldn't be large enough for it for like a year or more. But it's like I wanted. It was a lot like just
Peace.
gardening, or how it was. Yeah, it was like it can be quiet, or I can be listening to some chill music and just focused on this one thing. And sometimes my brain at least will be focused on so many different things. It's like, what video am I going to put out, and how's this video doing, and what's this person saying about me online, and what's my kid doing, and what's my family doing? You know what I mean? It's all these things. But when I am
It
dealing
gets a
with
bit.
tarantula, that's
Gets
the
a bit
only.
weird, doesn't it? Yeah.
Nothing else in the world. It all kind of fades away. It's just me and this spider in front of me, or me in this enclosure that I'm building. So it became just a huge source of meditation for me. And I can't imagine like living without him now, because I mean I had tarantulas all through my 20s, but it wasn't the same. Like I didn't appreciate them, if that makes sense. It was like it was an edgy pet to have on my shelf, to impress people when they came over to party. And my whole perspective of that has shifted a lot, in the past 10 years.
I think that's evident to your accomplishments right behind you.
And yeah, and it's changed my life, and I found so much peace in it. Like I want to introduce that to other people, because I know, not everybody is going to like keeping a spider, but I think there's a lot of people out there that just don't know that they would like it, because there's nobody mainstream pushing it, and like when I talked to Coyote Peterson, he came on the podcast, and I got a lot of crap from that because people will hate him because he's all sensationalization.
Why?
What?
Why do people hate him, but nobody mentions Schmidt? Because Schmidt did it first.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just because he's popular on YouTube. So I think some people see success, and that is the instant, like, that's when they just start hating somebody, like, oh, he's got millions of views, so I hate that,
Criticize.
you know. And they're popular online, and I think some people just don't like that. So they're automatically bad just because they have a large following. But then, you know, he would, and I fell into that. Like, at first, before I met him, I was like, yeah, that guy's just clickbait. I don't want anything, you know, I don't watch his crap. And it wasn't until my kids started watching it, you know, and I'm like, look, I'm like, you know, you got to monitor what your kids are watching online. And I see that he's watching, I just hear somebody talking in depth about some random reptile. And I was like, is he watching like a nature documentary? And so I'm kind of just be peeking over his shoulder. And then I see the end of it. And I'm like, that dude just let that thing bite him. What in the world? He's watching Coyote Peterson. And then I started watching some of his videos myself. And I realized that what people see in thumbnails and titles and like little tiny clips on the internet is just, oh my god, this thing has a terrible bite and it's gonna sting me and it's gonna hurt really bad, and then it stings him and the guy screams. But that's not what his content is. Like, that's the first 30 seconds, and then it's 5-10 minutes of strict educational stuff building up to the payoff at the end where he gets stung or bit, you know. And it's like, yeah, that the bookends are very sensationalized, and he's probably way overreacting on how bad it actually hurts. But I'm watching
people in.
a kid who has no interest in learning. He's like, in his free time, he could be watching kids play Minecraft games all day, but he wants to see that payoff, and was learning all this stuff about just different animals, because he was drawn in and kept captivated by the fact this guy might get bit at the end of the video, you know. And it was, I saw that. I was like, I don't think I could do that exactly, but I see what he's doing, and that's very clever, you know. And you see other guy like Steve Irwin kind of did some of the same stuff.
Oh, he was
you know,
amazing.
yeah, and it's like, you know, it to me, I think there, you know, there's some other guys that do it as well, and what I don't like is the people that just focus on the sensational stuff. Like, oh my, like the whole video is just, oh, I'm gonna get bit. This is so dangerous, and like, that's garbage. There's no educational content to that. People are just on, you know. But you know, so when I talked to Coyote Peterson, and we were able to kind of discuss this kind of stuff along with other things, like, I realized that his passion is animals, and he just found a formula to get his, you know, to be able to give this information to all millions of people, mainly children, that normally wouldn't have wanted to watch that, you know. And it's like, so then why are you hating this guy? Like, why? Because you don't like how he starts a video, you think he's too dramatic. And it's like, but look at what he's accomplished and all of the things that he's been able to teach people. So yeah, I forget what the question was. I went off on a tangent.
I got involved in what you were saying, so I actually forgot what I said as well. What were we on about? We were on about. No, it's completely gone. Phil Incredible Invert says, bit like Steve Irwin, a lot of people would hate on him, yet he'd done loads for conservation and to educate and inspire kids.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm a Coyote Peterson or a Steve Irwin or anything like that, but you know, one of my, if I died tomorrow, I would like to be remembered as somebody that tried to help normalize and take a lot of the stigma away from spiders.
I think on a personal level, I think you sell yourself short to yourself. I really do, because you know, the information that you get across is not only inspirational for keepers and for new people, and it's inspirational for content creators as well, I think.
Yeah, but I think that's just the trap of social media. Like, when I had 1,000 subscribers, if I was getting the views that I get now, I would be like, oh my god, I'm a mega star. But now I look at those views, and it's like, I should be getting twice that or 3 times that. What am I doing wrong? How do I fix this? You know what I mean? It's like this constant pressure to, you need a bigger reach. You're not reaching people at the level that you should be. So it's, you know, it's one of those, it's that hungry ghost thing in Buddhist mythology. Like, I will never be happy. I will never be content. I'm just constantly.
Yeah. Do you think that comes from, because you kind of, I think I found you when you're on 10 or 12,000 subscribers, and you seem to go up to 100,000 within what, a year?
Almost, yeah, a little over a year. But yeah, it went from like 10 to 100 kind of quickly.
It was just like, wow. Do you think because of that growth, that might give you your mindset that you kind of have at the moment, if a video doesn't hit those figures as quick as the previous video did?
Yeah. I think part of that's also very smart of YouTube, like stuff that people don't actually see unless you're a creator. You get in that YouTube studio, when every time I open it, the first thing it shows me is how this video compares to the last 10 videos you uploaded. It's like, so that it's a tricky metric because it really doesn't mean anything. It's like so I could have a video with 100,000 views on it that was 11 videos ago, or maybe it has 1,000 views, and it's not in that kind of frame of reference. So sometimes I'll look at that and be like, well, this video is 10 out of 10, so it must be a bad video. But then I look at it like a month later, I'm like, oh, it's actually an average video. The previous videos were just doing really well. If that, so it's like that video wasn't actually bad. Compared to all the videos on my channel, it was probably like in the top 10% of performing videos. But because it was up next to, it was being compared to other high performing videos, in my mind, I just see that's 10 out of 10, and I want it to be 1 out of 10. And that's it's impossible every video to be better than the one before as far as engagement and views, just because even if the content was perfect, people don't watch YouTube 8 hours a day every day. Like some people, you put a video up, they don't see it for a couple of months.
I think I've got maybe 2 or 3 short videos that have gone over 50,000 views. I've got nowhere near that. My normal. I think my highest one is 10,000 from a couple of years ago. And the way that got up there was because I put a comment on it, on the actual video itself. It's like an 8-second short, and it literally says, "Do you think these spiders are cute?" And at 3 o'clock in the morning, people were commenting over and over again, "No, burn them on fire, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah." Yeah. And literally every time I flicked my phone, it was like another 1,000 views, another 10 subscribers. I was like, what? Yeah, the comments were going against what the video's performance was doing. I have got, if you've got another 5 minutes, Richard, I have got another question.
There's a comment from Aruna Exotics. It says, "I get all girly shy when I see you guys in person. You're mega famous." That's one of the weird things that happens at expos recently, because I'm a dude that's been sitting behind this table for 2 hours and nobody's come to see me. Nobody knows who I am. And then like one random person comes up and they're so nervous and shy, they're almost crying. They can't speak. I'm like, hey, relax. I am just a dude. Like, I am not Tom Cruise.
That is going to be most of us at the UK show this weekend, I think. But then you've got the other thing, haven't you? You've got people, "Oh, how's it going? Blah, 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 blah. We spoke about this, blah, 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 blah." And you're thinking, who are you? And then they'll tell you the YouTube name. And you're like, but they know you because you're on YouTube. But if you're anything like me, you kind of struggle to try and remember the conversation that you had on a YouTube comment, 2 years ago. Yeah. That is the one.
And people don't introduce themselves as their YouTube handle, so they'll come up to be like, "Hey, it's Mike. We talked about this in the video," and I'm like, "You're gonna have to tell me who you are as far as YouTube's concerned." like I might recognize Unusual Pets, but I'm not gonna recognize Steven because that's not your name online. So I don't know. And I also have horrible memory. Like that's probably the most embarrassing. Like I've just done terrible things to my brain. So when I was younger, so sometimes like we could have a conversation and 2 weeks later, my wife hates this. Like I just don't remember ever having that conversation. I'm like, you did something she's like planned for a month and she tells me about it a couple of days ahead of time. I'm like, when did you decide this? She's like, we talked about it a month ago. I'm like, no, I would have remembered that. And unfortunately she can pull up her phone and be like, here's the text messages. I'm like, oh, how do I not have any recollection of that? So sometimes that happens with people. Like I'll meet people and we will have a conversation, and then 2 years later I meet them again and I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. And they're like, we know each other. I'm like, oh, it's embarrassing.
Those 2 people that you just mentioned, Aruna Exotic, she goes to some of the shows and does a table. Unusual Pets goes to a lot of the shows and puts a table on as well. Leah, she's close friend of mine from before even YouTube started.
Nice.
What with you being literally so many subscribers, it's like just absolutely amazing to the position that you've got to. For a channel like mine, or for somebody that's maybe like Lee down below, when he's literally just starting out on his YouTube, so he's only got the 5 subscribers. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice would you give to get you up to that first, say, 1,000, 2,000 subscribers? You got any hints or tips?
Yeah.
And what got you? You know, what do you think it got you to the position that you're at now on YouTube?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times my advice is what not to do as opposed to what to do. I mean, when it comes to every aspect of my life, like, yeah, I did all the wrong things, so avoid these. And then, but I think the best thing someone that you can do, and it's something like I took a when I moved into the studio, I just didn't upload for like a month, almost 6 weeks, and I felt like that was the right thing to do, mainly because I wanted the animals are priority, right? So I wanted to make sure everybody got moved here safely, everybody got set up, the lights were up, heat, for all the reptiles and the misting system, and needed to get everything painted, and so I was like, I can't do both, so I'm just gonna take a break from uploading and move to the studio, and then we'll take off from there. And in doing that, like I get comments all the time. People are like, I used to get notified every time you uploaded, and now I have to go search for your videos, even though I'm still subscribed and I have all notifications on. It's just something YouTube does. If you're not uploading consistently, people aren't clicking on it every week, then it just kind of falls off their notification kind of radar. Like they're just like, oh, they don't really look at it as Richard didn't upload for 6 months. They look at it as this subscriber didn't watch his videos for 6 weeks or whatever. So that hurts. So uploading consistently is really important. And like anybody, sometimes somebody reaches out to me and it's like, I want to start a YouTube channel. What's the best advice? It's like, make 10 videos before you make one public, so that you have a bank of videos that are already there. So if you had to take a week off, you get sick or something like that, you've got a pre-recorded video you can already upload. And that way you're never missing weeks, because I feel like what hurts my channel the most as far as, getting views is just not uploading consistently. So uploading consistently is definitely the first thing. And the second one is something that took me a couple of years to realize. And it's kind of like, you need to have a logical progression through the video, whether you're telling a story or you're making a list, or something like that. Like there's so many videos out there that I start watching and then get bored and turn off, because it's almost like a stream of content. Like they're just like, hey, I got this box, let's open it up and see what happens. And we're doing this and we're doing that, but there's no like logical flow to the video. And that's why I've kind of shied away a lot from doing a lot of the unboxing videos, because they never really perform well on my channel, where like Tarantula Cat will get hundreds of thousands of views. And I just haven't figured out how she does that, and it doesn't work for me. So I try to stick to a script or write an outline, and know that I want to hit this topic, and then I want to follow it with this topic, and then kind of bring it full circle at the end. And I'm not always perfect at that, but when I do that, when I put in that extra 10-20 minutes to plan the video out and have a logical flow to the video, those videos do so much better. That's why like the top 5 and top 10 videos always perform so well, because people come in, they know there's 5 things I want to talk about. We're going to start with number 5, work down to number 1, and they stay the whole time because they want to see it until the very. And then it's like, as soon as I go into my outro, you can see it, like everybody just clicks off. It's like I don't think anybody ever sees me say, "See you next Tuesday." I think maybe like 10% of the people that watch it actually get to that point, because once I finish up number 1, they're like, I got all the information I wanted out of this, I'm moving on to the next video. And that does amazing things in the algorithm, just having that retention over 50%. So yeah, getting like Tarantula Rookie, the story is king. Yeah, as long as you have it. And I think that's what makes people like Ants Canada is great. He's a great storyteller.
He keeps you.
Dr. Plants is another one, like millions of subscribers, millions of views. They deserve every single one of them, because they can make an enclosure build. They can put a story to it that you get invested in, and that's something that I always try to work on, is getting a lot better at storytelling, because that's what gets people involved, rather than just voyeurism. That, like I don't want to watch a security camera of somebody doing chores, essentially, which I feel like a lot of times that's what Tarantula YouTube videos end up being. It's almost like they're just on the wall watching me doing what I'm doing, and that's interesting. And some people really like that kind of voyeuristic stuff, but it's not what I enjoy watching on YouTube, so I don't want to emulate that.
But I think that type of viewing is TikTok's full of it. So you go through your TikTok lives, and there'll be a camera and there'll be a worker just doing the same thing over and over again, and they'll have like 3,000 people watching it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's interesting, but for 10 minutes straight, I don't know.
Exactly. But I found with mine, with the premiere, people will watch with me and chat with me to the end, and then as soon as it goes live, it's like you watch your figures, and it's like 70% of people are watching till 6 minutes, and it's an 8-minute video. So I'm a bit critical. So I go to the 8 minutes and go, well, what did I say or do that was wrong at that point?
Yeah.
And I know in the back of my mind, I'm thinking it's just purely because that subject after 7 minutes is just, for that person, has just got boring, and I've done and said everything. And the last minute is just basically maybe a bit of blagging out that I need to put in the video.
Yeah.
But I'm
It
like
got
you, I'm
to
very,
that.
very,
Like that's
very.
I will record a video, right? And I'll put it into Premiere Pro to start editing, and it's 45 minutes of me talking. When I release the video, it's 12 minutes of me talking. Because you can only imagine how much of what I said I delete, because it's like I'm repeating myself, I'm saying the same thing but in a slightly different way. Or I'm talking about something that has absolutely nothing to do with the point of the video. So I cut a lot of that stuff out. And then I'll watch the video a couple months later and I'm like, there's even more I could have cut out of that video. And then it's frustrating. That's why some of my first videos I'm starting to remake, just because I'm like, I could do that so much better. And maybe that video has 100,000 views on it at this point because it's like 5 years old, but it's like, I feel like it would look better visually now that I know what I'm doing with the camera a little bit more, but also I can condense that 12-minute video. I have some videos that are like 20 minutes and it's like that easily is an 8 to 10 minute video if I cut out me just rambling. So yeah, so I'm going back doing some of my old care videos and stuff like that, just to make it look smoother and better, but also just be a lot more concise and to the point.
While I remember as well, I did read a comment a little bit earlier on to do with the enclosures, and it was from Danny Keeper Cards. It did say that if you guys hook up with somebody in the UK, then that person in the UK could print under that name.
When you say hook up, what do you mean? I'm
Like
married. I don't hook up with people anymore.
Like join up with or collab.
Oh,
so
okay. Gotcha.
Tarantula Cribs got in contact with a UK large spider supplier,
mm-hmm.
and then they could literally maybe work it out so that they could send the designs over to the UK, and they could be printed here, built here, shipped out here from UK to UK. Yep. Then Tarantula Cribs haven't got to send anything from America apart from a couple of emails with the designs on.
I mean, I got to be very careful because despite what people, there's this conspiracy going around that I actually own Tarantula Cribs, which I don't. And there was like when I first started,
it's all made me laugh.
Tarantulas too. I'm like, I don't know if you're. I don't do any of that. Like these are people that I know and then I work with and I'm friends with. And people are like, oh, I love your enclosures. I'm like, they're not my enclosures. Like, you're taking away all the hard work Mo has done to design these and get them made and stuff. But I know that he really wants to open up in the UK and throughout Europe. The first goal, though, that he had was Canada, and he just launched Tarantula Cribs Canada. And it's something like I believe that they're manufactured. That way, he doesn't have to worry about going through customs and shipping to Canada because that's where the majority of the cost comes from. So he was able to work it out. And I don't know how, or, I don't know the details about it, but I know that now they have a limited supply of, or like they don't have all of the versions of Tarantula Cribs that are available. They may only have like, if there's 20 different styles that are available, they may have like 8 of them in Canada, but you can go to the tarantulacribscanada.com or whatever the website is. I don't actually go there. I don't know if that's the website, but I know that Instagram's Tarantula Cribs Canada, and people can order it that live in Canada can order it, and it's going to be shipped from Canada. So, you don't have to worry about the exorbitant, just the insane shipping costs and customs and all that stuff. And I know that he is in talks. He's doing something with somebody in if not in the UK, then in Europe. He's trying to work out a similar situation. So it's just, and you got to remember, like, it's not Tarantula Cribs isn't a massive corporation. It's not like Zoomed or Exotera or anything like that. It is literally one guy, and he probably doesn't want me telling people this, but he has a day job. You know what I mean? He works. He's a doctor in an emergency room. So like that's his priority. He's got
the respect from us a lot already.
Yeah, and this was like the only reason he started making these enclosures because he couldn't find anything that he really liked that he could buy retail that worked perfectly for a spider. He was like, he was just tired of having to modify all of his, Exotera enclosures so that they were safe for a spider. So he's like, I want to make something that's it's built specifically to house a spider. And he made it for himself in his bedroom using his wife's. She had like a laser cutter for things that she makes in her little, side job. And he started posting it on Instagram, and so many people got excited about it. They're like, where can I buy that? He's like, well, I made it. They're not for sale. And they're like, well, will you make me one? You know, and then that's grown into this business that he has now. And it's like, I've been to where I went to St. Louis to where he's set up. It's still just him. And I think he's hired like 2 part-time employees, essentially just to help him do packaging and shipping out and stuff like that. So, I mean, it takes some time to grow internationally when you're just one guy, you know?
Just a quick side note. I'm going to word this extremely carefully. The person that was very critical of that is the same person that commented on my sling video without watching the video.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
You always gonna get it, aren't you?
And there's maybe I don't know exactly who you're talking about, but I know a couple of people that fit that bill, and they're very closely tied to each other and have their own interests.
Yeah. And that influence comes to the UK, and we can kind of see the bullshit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I had a falling out, and I don't want to start drama, and I don't want to get into kind of litigious issues, but I was very friendly and had a great relationship with someone until they started pulling that kind of stuff, like trying to censor my content or have me take down videos or reword things, or we don't like your opinion on this, you need to change it to this. And it's like, you're not paying me to say this. Like, I'm the one that's making these, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, where do you think you have a say in what I am doing? And it didn't even negatively affect their business. They were worried that someone might see this and assume this thing that you didn't say, and that will somehow hurt us in the long run. And it's like, yeah, that's not my problem. Like, I don't know what you want me to do about it. And now we like don't really speak at all because of that crap. And it's sad and it's ridiculous, you know. It's control. Some people they have to have control. They think that they're in charge and that they're somehow the king or queen of the tarantula hobby, and it's their job to make sure everything is done the way they think is best.
So Charlotte Smith, we actually are working on a terrestrial version. Our problem is for us to launch a product like that, we have to commit to like a minimum of 5,000 units to get the boxes printed. So there we have an arboreal acrylic version. We do have a terrestrial one in development. We're just trying to find some unique selling point that makes it different from everyone else's. So a lot of it's acrylic, buy them from Alibaba from China. But we've as a manufacturer in the UK, we have to have something unique about them. Like in our arboreal version had the cross ventilation where you can change it from mesh to a solid top. So terrestrial is in development, but I want something special about it so it stands out from every other one on the market. If you go on Amazon, they're full of these sort of things.
You got to be careful buying those enclosures off Amazon and Alibaba and places like that, because they will look identical. You know what I mean? Especially like that was something the Tarantula Collective was running into, is that there would be 2 boxes that are just made of acrylic, and from the descriptions and the pictures, they look exactly the same, but one's half the price. People are like, I'm going to get that one. But when you actually have them side by side, and that's like a video I'm planning on making, just kind of.
So what I was a manufacturer in the UK,
but there's a huge difference.
Another guy and his free staff, we probably sell about 250 units a week of them. So they're very popular.
Very
but
cool.
Bring that to a terrestrial version, rather, because it's not made bespoke per tank. We will make a lot of one type. We're trying to want to make something unique. Has to be different and better than everyone else's.
So I've got a couple of TSS glass enclosures, and then I've got a couple of glass enclosures that I bought at a show a couple of years ago from God knows who, same design, and the plastic runners down the side of the ones that aren't the TSS have literally come off, and I'm forever trying to work out how to glue them back on. The ones with TSS, they seem to last a long time. With the acrylic ones, some of the mantis ones are fantastic. Some of the ones where you need a bit more moisture in the actual enclosure, I find that some of the UK plastic enclosures, you put the moisture in, and then within 2 minutes, your desk's drenched because it's all come out the bottom, out the sides where it's not sealed up.
Called Tensile 5, which is a bonding agent. So if you really wanted a waterproof, solid acrylic, you'd use that. It's like a nail varnish. You put it on before you attach it. But acrylics always have this problem. So acrylic enclosures aren't a new thing. They've been around for 30 years. And the problem is a lot of people make these things and they just don't stand the test of time. So where now they're making models using elastic bands that have that give in it, you don't have all that warping. But it's by no means a new thing. You know, personally, I'm a glass man myself. All my spines are glass.
The ones with the bands, they do. If you're keeping a spider in it, they will let water out all over the shop, unless you need to take the time to get some sealant and just seal it up beforehand.
Yeah, I'm not going to get involved in that conversation. I'm not saying something to upset a sponsor. But, I do got to go though, because it is getting late over here, and I think both my employees want their money so they can go home. And I'm paying them right now, and they're just sitting on the couch waiting. So I got to get going.
No, Richard, really appreciate your time. Before Andy said you could only do an hour, so for you to stretch this far, thank you so much. Because, like I said earlier, I've got a small channel, do a couple of videos a week, got a family and that, and you have got everything that you've got behind you, employees and all the rest of it. So your time is literally gold dust. So I really appreciate you spending that time coming on.
Appreciate you having me on.
Another thing I just want to quickly thank you for is, from all of us YouTubers, you allow us all to post links of our YouTube videos to your Facebook group. That's helped massively, because your Facebook group is going to be, obviously, the Tarantula Collective. Everybody on there is going to be very YouTube focused, and a lot of us have gained a lot of support from there.
That was one of the things that the moderators, because I kind of turned control over to that just because it's so work intensive. I was like, I got a kind of a good group of people. I'm like, look, I'm going to entrust you to run this. We don't make any money off of it. There's, nobody's paying for ads, or, you don't get paid by how many members you have from Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, it just sucks time and money. And so like they were kind enough to, they do that for free. They're amazing people, and they get a lot of crap. A lot of people hate them, and but whatever, that's the internet. But that was one of my big things, is like, if anybody that's posted, if it's something like tarantulas death fights, I'm like, no, we aren't going to post those there. But anybody that's like posting legit content that's about tarantulas or really invertebrates at all, 100% let them post, because that's the collective part of Tarantula Collective. Is it's not just about me, it's about kind of bringing in as many people. A rising tide lifts all ships kind of philosophy. Like, if they're doing well on YouTube, I'm going to do well on YouTube, and if I'm doing well on YouTube, I want them to do well on YouTube. That's kind of the way I look at it. So yeah, definitely feel free to always post your videos in my group. I am 100% for that.
I think it shows you what kind of a man you are. Because I've only got 8,000 subscribers. So for you to come here, you've probably gained no subscribers. So you've actually, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really appreciate it. I think I've only had one video turned down on the Tarantula Collective, and that was my own fault, because I didn't state handling.
Yeah, they're picky about that one.
And that was it. And I thought, do you know what? Fair play. Totally with that.
And I think a lot of times, like, the stuff they turn down, or like, they're like, you got to reword this or add a disclaimer or something like that. It's not even like a personal attack, or it's like they're not trying to get you. It's just, this has been an issue because of people that have taken it to an extreme. And if they set a rule and it's not applied to everybody equally, then there's the internet goes nuts. And like, that 5% that's very vocal is like, you let him post that, but I couldn't post a video of a P Metallica coming out of my mouth. And it's like, he's holding a rose hair for a thumbnail. It's not the same, but the subtleties are lost sometimes, and especially on Facebook.
When's the Tarantula Collective beer care range coming out?
I was actually, I've been trying to, Tarantula Cat launched these what she call them? Like, they're like squishmallows, like little stuffed animals, little plushy animals of spiders.
Squishes,
yeah. She's done really well with that, and I was like, well, that's an interesting. Selling T-shirts and coffee mugs and like your basic merch is it helps pay the rent here and keep the lights on, but I'm not getting rich off that at all. Make a few bucks off each shirt or whatever. But that was something that I've been looking at. It's like, what kind of crossovers can I do? So that was one of them that I've been looking at, is like a beard care line, or maybe just like a tarantula, like a beard oil. And we've got so many great artisans here in West Virginia. Like, my big thing is, just because it's such an economically depressed state and is overlooked by so many different like just the federal government as well as like other corporations. I want somebody that's local, like a local West Virginia business.
Yeah.
So I've been, working with a couple of different people trying to find something that would be really cool in that line. And this is a top secret. I'm just going to tell your subscribers here. So everybody, don't tell anyone else. But I am currently in the work of launching a coffee line of single origin, small batch artisan roast coffee that's going to be tied to a location of a specific tarantula species. So the first one we're going to do is going to be the Aphonopelma samani blend. It's going to be a single origin Costa Rican blend, made in this small ethical farm. The guy, he's in my hometown where I grew up in West Virginia, a good friend of mine for years, and he's really good at roasting coffee. He's got his own coffee roaster and a nice little business called Good Vibes Coffee that he has, very small business. And so yeah, we're working on right now. We're stuck on the packaging, trying to get that because we want it to be very unique. And we're even like, the reason we're stuck right now is because I want it to come in a package that can double once you've drank all the coffee. Then that'll also be an enclosure for your tarantula after you wash it out really well and get all the caffeine out of there. So yeah, that's going to be something that'll be launched here in the next couple of months. So we'll do the coffee line first, and then hopefully after that, have some kind of wood care thing going.
We have got a thing on the channel which was crazy just one night a couple of years ago, where all the guests have got to call me a wanker. So you've got to do that, otherwise my subscribers will be going nuts at me.
Oh, is that what that means? I saw that. I was like, call him a I was like, what is that?
Very good juggling.
A wanker.
Hey!
Scott's a wanker. You know what's funny? My wife was talking about she's the work she does. She works with this is totally depressing. Sorry for everybody that has to hear this, but it's funny and it's relative. She works with Harmony House, which I do a fundraiser every fall Halloween for to kind of raise money because they work with physically and sexually abused kids.
We got those in the UK as well.
What?
Is that the same one that's in the UK?
Oh no, this is like a local thing. It's called Harmony House. But she one of the kids that she was at the office with, he had Down syndrome, and his dad left the room for a minute, and the kid was talking, and he's probably like in his late teens or something, and he just whips out his privates, and she referred to it as she said he pulled out his wanker, and I was like, who the heck calls it a wanker? And I went through the list of all of the names you could call that part of a person's body, a guy's body. And she's like, no, all those are too sexual and gross. He's a kid with autism, and or whatever. And yeah, it was kind of funny. So I had not ever heard my wife use that word until she was using it to describe that. So I feel weird calling you that. Is that what it means in the UK? Is it
yeah.
Okay.
No, it means.
So common term of greetings. When you meet anyone in the UK, that's how you say good day, sir.
I'm looking forward to being able to use the C word when I get over there.
Hello, wanker. Where's my room? When the waiter comes, hi, wanker. Can I order a steak?
I'll do that.
It's like you guys say, "Hey, dude." We say, "Hey, wanker." It's a British thing.
You're gonna get me beat up, aren't you? You're gonna get me stabbed.
Beat off again means something else in the UK. Leah, do you know how to flip the birdie as well? Do you know what flipping the birdie is?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Hey, that's it.
I'm good at that. Yeah, I started. I was looking for a tagline to end my videos, and I was uploading on Tuesday. It was Tarantula Tuesday, so I was like, "I'll see you next Tuesday." And then a bunch of people in the UK are like, "I don't think that means what you think it means."
No.
It's like, is it all right for me to say that word in the UK? Because you get roasted over here, you say it.
It's not. It's probably the worst in the UK. Is the "see you next Tuesday" word.
That's the worst one.
Yeah, pretty. It's the one. It's the one where everybody just kind of stops doing what they're doing and looks to see who's going to start, like literally starting a fight somewhere.
Well, I'm glad that we had this conversation because I thought it was like calling someone a dick or something. Like that's just a word that you can use freely and nobody will be offended by it.
No. See you next Tuesday. It's a spelling. So CUNT.
Right. Yeah. That part I understand. I thought that was an acceptable word to use in casual conversation in the UK. So no, it's not. So you just saved me some very embarrassing situations. That was what I was going to call Danny as soon as I got off the airplane. Like, hey, what's up? You see you next Tuesday. Okay, I got to go. They're yeah. I'm gonna have to give me 1 second. I'm getting off here. I got to
No worries. Pass on our thanks to the two employees that have been doing your work for you while you've been on air as well.
You want to say hi?
You've helped make it happen. Thank you, guys.
Is it Zach?
Hey, Zach.
Can't quite hear you guys. But...
Oh, they can't hear you at all. Here.
No, we can't.
How's it going?
Hey, man. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate your time, dude. Letting Richard have a couple of hours off to come on air. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, love taking care of the tarantulas. Got a bunch of them myself. Like, she has a bunch of them. So it's literally just a dream to work here, and gives him a bunch of time to be able to do awesome stuff like this and be guys on your podcast.
Is he obviously, you know, we've heard of people like refer to him going, yeah, he's really sound guy. When you meet him at shows, he's such a nice guy. When he's on a podcast like tonight, he's come across as being absolutely sound. Is that Richard on a day-to-day basis?
Day to day, all the time. Yeah. Like the guy you see is a little bit more chill, but the same kind of, like, he's endearing, he's like super like welcoming, very educational, like awesome to be around.
This
awesome.
Is I didn't introduce her, and she didn't introduce herself. But
Hello.
she's watching animals while I'm in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, so you two literally just get all to do all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Without the hassle of having a massive YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. We just get to have fun with the tarantulas, feed them, help rehousing, all that good stuff, and he does all the filming and the editing and all that good stuff.
So when he does go away for a couple of days, how often does he phone you up?
And you're gonna be coming in daily.
Yeah, I'll be in daily. I don't know. This will be my first time doing it while he's gone, so yeah.
I would help out, but I'm gonna be at a wedding, so
Yeah, they're both leaving me.
yeah.
Oh, I hope the wedding goes well.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be super fun.
Well, you could still, what you're chilling there, you could use his equipment to whack on the live stream. That's going to be happening from Lee's website.
Yeah, you could do your own.
Oh, I'll do my own. Yeah, I'll take over. I'll take over.
Tarantula.
YouTube and everything from Tarantula Collective.
Yeah, I'll
So both of you guys got full-time jobs as well as helping Richard. Is that right?
I do.
She's full-time. I'm a student. I also work at a zoo, like a local zoo around here as well. And then I also work at another pet store, but I'm going into grad school, so that pet store job's going to be ending soon. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Stay busy.
Awesome. What's the pet store?
I work at Petco.
Yeah. I worked at Pet Supplies Plus.
Two separate
So
chains. We both met him, and then now we both work for Tarantula Collective.
Did you keep spiders? Were you into spiders beforehand?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Big time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Someone said, "What's Richard like the boss?"
Yeah.
Very chill.
Nothing like this. I mean, we didn't have an entire room for it. It was just like, for me, it was like a corner in my bedroom.
Mine's a room.
Yeah.
Mine's a room.
This is my kitchen.
Your kitchen.
So yeah, this is the family kitchen.
I love that.
Yeah. So that went down well with the wife, as you could imagine. I have a very, very, very understanding wife.
Do you have tarantulas anywhere else in the house?
No. My our 4-year-old's autistic, so he's high functioning and ADHD as well. So he has broke 3 TVs in the matter of 4 weeks by throwing stuff. So he is just not allowed in here, full stop. Sometimes if he's, I've really got to judge how he is. So if he's quite calm, I'll allow him in here with me, and he will go and watch the Aki monitor lizard. That's his favorite thing. He'll watch the crabs and he'll watch a couple of spiders, and for those 10 minutes his concentration levels are through the roof, and it's amazing to see for me as a parent. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's just too risky to have them anywhere in the house. Yeah,
that's understandable.
So
I feel myself, so it's like I completely understand that. Like all of the focus, and then I'm also a little bit clumsy as well. So yeah.
but then I think the wife, she understands that without these, I can't function, can't lead a normal life, can't do the whole marriage thing, can't do the whole kids. I'd be I mean, it's been, I mean, I'm on now 8-9 years clean. That'd be going back through my mind again. So on those parts of the day where it's really stressful, or because at night time when everybody's in bed, I'm in here. That's me until about 3 a.m, and then I'll get up about 7 or 8 and do what I've got to do. But those times of the day where most people in recovery are kind of, oh yeah, drugs, this, that is going through their mind. I'm in here, and it takes that away from me.
Yeah.
You know, and like Richard was saying, your anxiety is going, thoughts are going like crazy. You go and watch a spider. What's it doing? Nothing. And I think because that spider's a living animal and it's doing nothing, I think it brings your heart rate down. It brings your emotions down, and you're both kind of just like, yeah, I can breathe at that point.
Yeah. It helps you relate to them, kind of like bring you down and chill out a little bit. Seeing them
definitely.
So calm and just sitting there in the same spot for days, weeks on end. I mean, it makes you really calm down yourself and kind of like chill out. I absolutely love going into my room, and then like if I'm ever having a bad day, just like freaking out, just go in, watch them. They're just like sitting there. I'm like, oh, I just be a tarantula, just chill out.
Have you both got YouTube channels as well? Any Instagrams or any social medias?
I have an Instagram. At Zach's ZACH _zoo with 3 O's, and I post all my animals there.
Could one of the moderators drop that Instagram link into the comments for me, please? And if everybody be kind enough to go and give him a follow on Instagram, and if one of the moderators could go over and put it on the Scott's Inverts Facebook group as well, that would be absolutely awesome.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I post my animals more probably on my Facebook. I have a Facebook and an Instagram. My Instagram is _A Briding, BREIDING _02. And then my Facebook is just Angie Briding.
Again, if one of the moderators could do the same, that would be absolutely awesome. And while there's still quite a few people watching, if you've got your own YouTube, please just type in the comments me so everybody can go and spread a bit of love and subscribe to each other. That would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Just had a comment saying Richard doesn't know what to do in the background. Bless him. I am. I must admit, I am very jealous of your hair.
Mine.
Yeah, Richard must be as well.
Mine's black, and I'm wearing black, so I can't really see mine.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, Lee still managed to keep his hair, but when I turned, I don't know, about 33, 34, just started disappearing, and I was like, I'm not going to be one of these old guys that goes bald here and still has long hair. I was like, no, it's going. Yeah. Mine was literally down to the bottom of my back when I shaved it. Yeah.
When you shaved your head, is that when you started growing out the hair on the face?
No, I shaved the head, kept very clean shaven, because at the time, I think, what was I doing 10 years ago, we were off the drugs, and we were still doing a lot of mixed martial arts and stuff like that. So I was always clean shaven and what have you, but always wanted to grow the beard. But then for years it wouldn't grow fully, so I'd have patches under the chin or a patch here or something like that. And it weren't until I was about 36, 37 that I was actually shaving every day. So a couple of years ago, I grew a beard, but it weren't this long. It was just a crappy little thing. And then I kept shaving it off, and then I might grow it to an inch, shave it off because it was itching. And then what I did was looked at the actual beard routine properly, and the oil. You put the oil onto your skin to stop it itching, and I did that, and then I could just grow it. So that was. It's been growing about a year and a half.
Yeah.
There you go.
Richard looks like he's.
We gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here.
No worries. Thank you so much, both of you, for popping on.
Absolutely.
And again, us in the UK appreciate your support, because without you guys, Richard wouldn't be coming.
Yeah, we'll take good care of him while you're down there.
Oh, well, we will. Yeah, definitely. Danny certainly will.
Yeah. You guys have fun. Thank you guys for having us.
No, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Richard.
Oh,
So
see you in a couple of days, Richard.
Bye, guys.
Don't
Ollie,
forget
bye.
to check in tomorrow.
See you, love. See you later. See you at the show.
I'll see you then. Goodbye.
See you Sunday.
See ya.
He's going to make an awesome addition on Sunday.
Yeah, I look forward to it. How did
It's
I do?
gonna
First
be-
stream.
Sorry?
How did I do? My first stream.
Did well. Did
Well, I
well.
know fuck load about YouTube now, Scott. Like, I know everything about.
Why have you froze? Or is it me that's froze? Boy, American Ginge. Lee has frozen. Oh my god. It was while Lee's frozen, I'll tell you straight. I've been after getting Lee on a live stream by himself for must be 18 months now at least. Yeah, back now.
I got really bad Wi-Fi in Wales.
Don't worry. I was just saying to get you on a live stream, we've waited about 18 months.
Yeah.
Because a little bit shy. You've always shied away from the cameras.
Yeah,
So
it's
really,
one
really
of the worst experience of my life this has been, to be honest, right, Scott.
Really?
Well, I still know what to say or when to say it. It's hard work.
I think for yourself, you should be a bit more out there in the media because these shows are only happening because you said, Luke, come on, let's do something.
Got face for radio, mate. I'll probably send Luke next time, I reckon.
At the shows, you look like you're like literally like your head is literally just all over the shop, literally thinking about everything.
Yeah. So, are you coming Sunday?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big show. I can feel it.
Yeah. I wasn't because I couldn't get a lift, but Luke from Spa Spiders lives 15 minutes away, and he said, "Look, if you come over and rehouse a few bits with me because he's busy on Thursday." He says, we'll gear lift to the show on the Sunday. And I was like, can I bring my camera? And he went, yeah. I was like, right, yeah, see you Thursday.
When you start pre-organising the show, you can always judge the momentum. And we got into March. I was like, Luke, mate, this venue isn't going to be big enough. So they'll probably have in London. There's not many big venues. And when they do have big ones, they're tens of thousands of pounds. And we got into it and said, Luke, this is not going to be big enough. Do we do something about this now? So let's contact best part of 400 venues to find one that's 3 times the size.
Wow.
I see. Looking at the ticket sales and advanced ticket sales, people talking about the media.
He's just froze up. Graham from Brackmore Readings. Hey Graham, he was on the live last week. He's going to see everybody there. Leah from Unusual Pets unfortunately can't make it, which I am absolutely gutted about, to be honest. Just hire the O2. Oh, imagine. Dr. P. Hey, Big D. Scott's Brillo Beard is interrupting the signal. I've got the cable on my end now. I've got a cable goes from my laptop to the actual Wi-Fi box. I'm going to Ellie's instead of getting Ellie food. Oh, nice. Elliot, you're 10 minutes from Tarantula Rookie. That sounds like a bit of a hookup. Awesome. Lee, you froze up for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I wondered. Obviously, tell me to shut up. If you would give people a kind of idea at the cost of hiring a venue in London, because I think a lot of people just go, "Oh yeah, the invert shows must be making thousands of pounds from these shows." Blah 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 blah.
Nah,
£6.
Something like London. By the time you've done all your costs involved, flying over Richard, wining and dining. I was guessing a ballpark figure, maybe 15 grand. So
wow.
This show, I doubt we'd even cover that in ticket sales, on table sales. So you take a hit on some and do well on others. So to give you an idea, so like a Scotland show, you lose a lot of money on, but it's very important to have that regional representation, I feel. Then you have like your bigger ones like Bristol and maybe Coventry that kind of like build up the numbers, like build up the average.
Oh, Coventry's awesome. Hometown. Always going to big that up massively.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's also early days. So maybe London this year won't be so great for her, but next year you've got something to go back and negotiate with. You say, okay, you had 1,500 people come through the doors, all eating at your cafe. Can you do us a better price, sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think London's always going to be expensive because of the nature of the area. But I think to be one of the capitals, though, kind of had to be done, really.
Oh, just to be able to call it the capital show says everything. Having attended the Barnsley show, that was just another level. Really wasn't expecting it to be so nice. Really weren't expecting it to be so just awesome show. I mean, we're obviously all a big fan of the Coventry show, the Bristol show from the previous years, but Barnsley just blew it out of the water.
Yeah, what's come of vision was trying to be more like an exhibition and less like a wet market. So we're trying to raise that standard, come out with these new ideas. Like last Barnsley show, we tried out some new things. Like we had the guy doing the photography, and these all things added value to the show. Rather than just walk around and buy some animals, you take some photos. You can watch the live shows. You can spend time chatting with your mates. We get a lot of feedback as well. I know it's one issue we had at Barnsley. What you kind of need is like another room for people just to hang out and speak to their friends, share their. So these things are kind of learning as we go along.
I've mentioned it kind of before. If it's pissing it down with rain outside and there's people in the community that suffer with anxieties and stuff like that, I think a little side room where you can go and have a chill with your mates and a chat would be absolutely awesome.
Well, we'll come a long way with that as well. So, for instance, we always get disabled people in first before the show starts, and this, for me personally, has been quite a big leap in understanding for someone who spends his time probably not around so many people. Or so you got to try and understand this inclusivity thing. Now, I was there at, say, Bristol, walking up and down the crowd, pulling people forward, and you'd be like with a guy on crutches, like, it's like, mate, can you walk? He's like, I don't really understand. Yeah, I'm fine, but do you go first? So it's been quite eye-opening for me as well. I mean, trying to learn all these things, understand these things. It's very important to us that it's accessible for everyone. It's kind of been like our main thing,
So you got
we get a lot of messages like, is it disabled access, or can we bring this in? I'm a bit worried about this. So it's kind of trying to offset a lot of that, really, and learn about these things.
Then you got the people with hidden disabilities, which is probably going to be your biggest nightmare, because those with the hidden disabilities, like myself, are severe anxieties and stuff like that when they enter a building, if it's packed straight away, they're spending 2 minutes in there and turning around and going home because it's just too much. Whereas if they can go in and then the crowd builds up around them, they feel a bit more comfortable. But then the flip side of that is you could get people coming up to you and just saying, "Oh yeah, I've got anxieties. Can I come in now?" And there's nothing wrong. Mark and Victoria, which is a converter man. So certainly appreciate that with Victoria. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, so we will try our best, man. And pull out a show as organised. There's so much going on very quickly. Yeah,
the show. She struggles to get the scooter behind the actual table.
Okay.
I'm wondering if somebody's got a scooter and they've got a table, if they message you and tell you, would you then accommodate a little bit more gap?
Certainly think where we place them,
So you could put them on a different table where there's more access at the back.
Yeah. What they should do when they have this booking form, which they fill in, they can maybe mention these things.
Awesome. Yeah, but sometimes it takes yourself or somebody else to say that for the rest of us to go, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
Harry,
if anyone's got any good suggestions or other ideas we could do at shows, I'd be interested to hear them.
more stuff for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, me and the wife have kind of spoken. We don't think Leo. I don't think I could bring him to a show just because of the danger of him pulling stuff off the tables. Because with his high functioning autism and ADHD, it's just too much of a risk. But for kids, I reckon, you know, if you've got parents that want to see the spiders, the kids have seen 2, so they've had enough. They've seen Nick for the period of time that he does. It'd be nice if they had something else going on. And jealous
So
and
at
there's face painting.
Yeah, so we had it's at Taunton. We had Taunton. We had the handling, we had the drawing and the colouring in. Our promise we're limited sometimes by venues, by how much room we have for this extra stuff.
Steve says one-way system might eliminate that.
No one's going to do that, are they?
I don't. If it was one, it'd annoy me if it was one way, because you might go to one stand and go, oh yeah, that's 30 quid. Right, I'll quickly check the other stand there. Oh, it's 40 quid, and then you want to turn around and go straight back to the first one and pick it up for 30 quid.
Yeah, I think you got to appreciate between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, it's gonna be super busy. Then from like 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, you can have that calmer sort of situation.
We have got the obviously the government know all about the invert show because they're putting the 3 o'clock alarm out on the Sunday for 1 hour left to shop.
The raffle, mate, 3 o'clock raffle.
The 3 o'clock raffle call out. The government.
Let's go see Greg and get your tickets, like.
Oh yeah, Greg is awesome. If any of you guys have got 5 minutes to spend with Greg at a show, go do it. The man is.
Yeah, Greg's one of our secret weapons. So
his knowledge
since we've got Greg doing all the fundraising, the amount of money we're raising for these invert charities is pretty much tripled. Yeah, so Greg's a real asset to us, him and Rachel, you know.
Do you get much feedback from the invert charities that you donate to?
Not as much as you might think. You know, we've got a nice letter from the bee people. You know, thank you for the money.
It'd be nice to know, like, or a little follow up maybe, like, of the bees saying, the bee charity going, yeah, you've been donating for 3 years and we've managed to do this.
Yeah, what I really want is them to come maybe be at some of the shows.
Oh,
so what we'll do this year, we'll work with one charity, Bug Life, who do various invert projects. So this year we do the Fenrir spider. Next year we'll pick up another one of their projects. And when you kind of got that leverage, say, well, hang on, we're going to raise this much money for you. I kind of feel you should come along. And what I've noticed this year, we had a lot of response from like the old entomological societies, like the Amateur Entomological Society, the Royal Entomological Society, which for me is quite a good benchmark when these guys are noticing us and say, hang on, we want to get involved now.
Yeah.
Rather me sort of speaking to them, oh, guys, you should come along, we try and get kids into bugs. Now they're kind of, rather me going to them, then I'll come to us saying, yeah, how do we get involved?
Because I think because more and more people are realising that the invert shows are the way forward, especially for their own businesses. There's only so much marketing you can do, but to have somebody to talk to face, that's when you can really sell your product or sell your society.
More for the hobby itself. That's a secret to behind our shows is we're community driven. So it's like you YouTubers, all the Facebook, social media, the groups, they all get involved. The traders get involved. I have all the shops get involved, and because you're creating a community thing where you're going to meet your friends throughout the years, is build momentum. That's kind of the secret behind it. Is trying to do it by yourself will be impossible. But if we get everyone else involved, look, if you guys want this, you want to come along to this, you want to do this, just mention it, help us do it. It's been great,
Most people in chat at the moment, it's the only time I get to see them is at shows. And in chat, I've got some extremely close friends that literally we chat to on the internet, on lives and stuff like that. And then you go to an invert show and they're all there, and you get 20 hugs from people that you just don't.
There's certainly a big difference when you take your hobby that's on the internet into real life,
Oh, massively.
So my oldest friends are all from the hobby. I've known these guys now 25 years. We travel the world together, we meet up, weddings, funerals, that sort of thing. So probably when you grow up, you have friends who might be your friends for shared interest, when you've got friends with a shared interest, I find those relationships last a lot longer.
When I'm really good friends and really close friends with Luke again from Spar Spiders, and he has got nothing but love for you, and he remembers like journeys and stuff going on with you from when he was like 14. That is literally core memories right there.
So my personal oldest customer is 96 years old, and not only have we sold him spiders for 20 years, we now sell his grandkids spiders. So it's not uncommon for us to get a phone call off someone say, look, so and so died. Can you come pick up his spiders? Like, someone you've known for 10 years.
Does that make you emotional?
It does, man. Or sometimes you get people who you've dealt with for so long, you kind of wish one day I'd love to see their collection. Looking at what they've bought over all this time, it must be phenomenal.
Just to go back and go, I remember when you bought that.
Yeah.
I remember
people when I was a kid who I used to deal with. Look at their price lists. Now they're my friends. But that's even weirder. So the guy who was doing the photography at Barnsley show, he used to shop in called Coast to Coast Exotics up near Newcastle. I remember as a kid buying stuff from him. All of a sudden, quarter century later, he's at my show, doing things with me. It's kind of a strange thing, it's a very small hobby,
A question that I've always wanted to ask you, Lee, is there any species of tarantula that's in the hobby today that you personally are solely responsible for getting into the UK?
Well, it's quite a few. So all your Australian stuff, that was us. But also your Chilean stuff. So the things like your Homiana chilensis, spider everyone wants.
Yeah.
So there was a time we used to sell them for 40 pence a spiderling because we bred so many of them. Went over to Chile, we found these things,
It was crazy. I mean, I got the two. I mean, you've seen pictures because I've asked you and I brought them to the show, and so is Luke. The Neotheli species green. I managed to get two of those, and it was very, very difficult trying to find out any information. And it was Luke. He was like, "Well, Lee would have brought them in." And I did a Google search, and like literally, the only people that to ever bring him into the country was yourself back in 2014.
Yeah, well, predated that even, yeah.
I think that was the last time. Can you start the Mexican imports back up again now CITES is fucked off?
I think they've already they'll come back. That's just something to do with dolphins.
Yeah,
but what people don't realize, people talk about CITES in Mexico. Mexico's only ever exported captive spiders. So what's happening over there is like them coming over to the UK and saying you can't sell fish and chips because some guy's killing dolphins. It's not really the same thing, So
CITES, they weren't doing enough to protect their illegal fishing, to police the illegal fishing. So CITES, which is 182 countries, said you can't export to, but that's 182 countries. So theoretically, you could get them to export to a non-CITES country and then to the UK anyway.
Why would you bother for a Mexican redneck? We breed thousands of them.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. There is a lot in captive bred. Is there anything that you guys, obviously just like yourself, Spider Shop, are responsible for, i.e. like the first UK breeding of?
Probably nothing so exciting. So I'm more into more common stuff,
But they're all exciting. They're all exciting.
Yeah, as a business, I guess my stock market is like 30 coders, and people think one's pets. When he sees really expensive spiders, I'm not so interested until they're kind of like a bit more widespread. So I mean, I'm selling to people who got kids and stuff. You don't want to spend £100 a spider. I'm kind of supplying the market where people want cheaper animals. One thing I'm most proud of is jumping spiders. 15 years ago we first started doing them. I can't believe what something so small is now such a massive thing.
Oh, it is massive. Jumping spiders. I mean, I can remember when I first started looking at them, I was just like, I don't know if I like them or not. And then the amount of people that are into them is just a whole new world. It's like you've got tarantula keeping's massive, and the jumping spider keeping side of things is literally almost the same size.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. Joe, we see all over. And someone puts a video, let's say, on TikTok. Joe, the amount of feedback we get from new keepers trying to keep jumping spiders, and they're such a great gateway spider into the hobby. So the amount of new keepers that come in for jumping spiders is phenomenal.
Claire, which is a Royal Exotics, the jumping spiders you've bred and had available in the last 2 years has been epic.
Yeah, to give you an idea, I think this year we were producing in the region of 14,000 jumping spiders. We've already hit like the 9,000 point, and we're only in April,
Do you reckon you'll sell all those?
Definitely. Well, we can't, even now we're struggling to keep up,
I mean,
we've got a lot of secrets, a lot of things, new things coming up soon.
There's obviously we're on about the true spiders.
I just love the diversity,
I think you guys, like I said, were the first ones that kind of said, Scott, have you ever seen these? And literally, I was just like, Lee, I'm sitting here with a semi. How the fuck can I get hold of that? And you're like, oh, we've got them on the website. I'm like, oh, fuck, But then it don't just stop there, because it's like, Lee, well, what do I do with it? Oh, they're this type of spider, that type of spider. You don't just get this spider. You don't just buy the spider and there's nothing. Do you know what I mean? You're always willing to take a quick message, and then you'll say what part of the world they're from and all the rest of it. The best was, I can remember when I bought Hogna Miami from you, and it probably 2-3 years ago, and I literally went, Lee, what type of environment are these from? And you was like, fucking everywhere. I said, what do you mean? And you were like, well, you'll find them in cellars, you'll find them in grasslands, you'll find them in trees, bushes, anywhere. And
so the trick with Hogna is when you're looking for them, is when you've got head torch on, is their eyes reflect the light. So if your head torch is too low down, he won't reflect. You have to have the perfect angle, and you'll see hundreds of them from a mile off. And the same with the Dolomedes when you're looking in swamps. Is Dolomedes and frogs, eyes reflect green, whereas an alligator reflects red. So when you kind of walk around these swamps in a pair of wellies, your big hitting stick, you kind of got to know which is which.
So you've been in the middle of the night, and you see the red eyes. Is Lee shitting himself? I fucking would.
More controlled, make a lot of noise. They run away, Everyone's more scared of you.
Because you mean you take your son as well? Is your first instinct kind of, where's he? Right there. Yeah, behind me.
Yeah. He's like Mowgli. He's already up in the trees running around, He's just not worth worrying about.
When you chat to him at the show, he is a massive credit to you, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But after doing like tarantulas now for 25 years, you kind of seen it all before, if that makes sense. Whereas with the true spiders and the weirder things that now more people are keeping, I get quite excited to open a crate from the other side of the world that we've been working on for 6 months. It's full of new stuff. Okay, some of it may not take off, or some of it may prove not viable to keep, but you always get the people who bring something through. I keep going about the true spiders, but the last few years have been amazing. You mentioned people like Jeremy and Jennifer, who've done really well at not only producing these things for one, but multiple generations. There was a time like those ogre-faced spiders. No one kept them alive more than 2 days. Yet now we've got multiple generations just coming through.
Gavin as well. Impossible inverts. Adam, invertbarian as well. But Jeremy, with his age as well, he is going to bring something very special to the true spider keeping as the years go on, I think.
Yeah, so we got a lot of weird stuff. And it's always like, Jeremy, I've got these things. I'm not sure what they are, but I know you'll like them.
He's in a chat group that I'm in, and quite a lot of the guys are in, and he will literally just go, I've got this coming from the spider shop. And it's literally like Jez is sitting there with like a stonking hard on because he's getting like some new weird spiders from you guys. And we're all thinking, that means he's going to breed them and there's going to be slings. But it's not just that. It's like, Jenny Gosling as well. These guys are doing what you did kind of 20 years ago, which is breaking barriers and bringing new techniques out that work, like sling care. I said to Jeremy, I said, look, I've got this egg sac of a red fang, wild caught. It was infertile in the end. But I was like, how the fuck am I going to look after these, mate? How am I going to feed them? And he literally said, you put them in the same container. The strong ones will eat the weak ones and grow bigger, and then you can feed them flies.
Yeah,
I was like,
we struggle with them.
what? But yeah, that's what he said.
But if you think maybe 20 years ago, let's say beetles, very few beetles were bred. Whereas now, 20 years down the line, we understand so much more about flake soil, even down to certain types of mushrooms on certain flake soil or certain wood that now makes them breed.
Raking the whitewood.
Yeah. So everything has its place. So when people says, well, they're impossible to keep, well, maybe to you, but someone else who might want to approach this differently. So you think even tarantulas, we still got literature now saying keep it at room temperature. It's gone for 20 years. Yeah, it's keeping it at room temperature. It'll be fine. Well, anyone who breeds spiders knows that's not the case. You start cycling these things.
Are you guys making your own flake soil now? Richard's in Tarantula Collective as well.
We do occasionally, man. It's a lot of work and it stinks. I'm also not sure stuff might explode if you're not careful.
Because you can do it with the mushrooms, but then there's another way that you do it with chemicals as well, isn't they? Which is quicker, but more riskier, if I remember rightly.
No, it's a flake soil. It's a fermentation process. It fucking stinks. But it's one of those things, you got to really want to do it. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Richard says, hello again. Back home already. Wife is upset because he's late for dinner. Richard, please express our thanks onto your wife for allowing you to spend extra time with us as well. Please let her know that we really, really appreciate it. Sorry, not sorry. I threw Scott under the bus and blamed it all on him. Hashtag blame Scott's inverts. Really, really, really just I was almost shell shocked having Richard on tonight. I don't know if you could tell in the chat. We've hashtag blame Scott's inverts. Yes, dude. Tell her thank you for letting us steal you for the time, says Angela.
Sorry,
yeah,
I heard a baby crying.
Also, please pass on a thanks to your wife for allowing you to come to the show on Sunday as well, because a lot of subscribers kind of don't realise that Lee's got a wife, I've got a wife, Richard's got a wife, got families, and all the rest of it. There's a lot going on in the background, isn't there, Lee?
So on that subject, I've got a 7 a.m. start. I really appreciate everyone coming to our shows and making them great. I look forward to seeing something on Sunday, I guess.
No worries. I'm buzzing for it. So I mean, Luke from Sparse Fires, I can't thank him enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get there. I won't be buying much because time of the month, but I'm going for the experience and I can't wait. Again, if you can get to one of these shows and you have limited funds for the show, don't fucking worry. The experience will cover it. The experience of just being at one of these shows is amazing. You've got the likes of Lee, you've got the likes of other traders, Emil, you've got Luke from Spa, you've got other YouTubers there, you've got great people to go and meet, have conversations with, Dave's Little Beasties, all the rest of the raffle. Have a go on the raffle. You might be able to get something for a couple of quid instead of like 30, 40. Amy's where really wants to go. Again, we've done it again. So we put a post up on the Scott's Inverts page, which I've put up personally. So it's a post which says, "Are you going?" It's got all the details on there. And then in the comments, if you want to say, my name's Scott, I'm going from Coventry, I've got a car with 3 spare seats. If you're on the way between Coventry and that show, drop me a message and I'll pick you up on the way. Split the fuel costs, that type of stuff.
I know the Invert Shows page as well.
I know Lee does the same over there, so check both. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, I've got a couple of quid, but I can't get to the show. Maybe there's somebody that's driving straight past you that can just nip in, pick you up. We can't be held responsible if you meet a new friend through this and they encourage you to buy a shitload more spiders and it gets you in trouble with your partner. it's not our fault. You
Well,
know?
hopefully better than last time.
Tony Louise. Oh, Tarantula Collective, just before you go. Oh, thank you, Trond. Night, Trond. Hashtag Tron's asleep. Tarantula Collective says, huge thanks to Lee and the gang for bringing me out. Thanks to Scott for inviting me on. I apologise for not staying on that on camera. Richard, you said you could only do an hour, and you doubled that, and we really appreciate your time. Really appreciate the fact that where you are, you have no issues with like coming down to a very small channel and coming on to our streams, which is just awesome. Love at first bite. Scott, you're a wannabe, but I love you. I love you too. Jay says Gutted can't go and he's in London. Oh, maybe. Oh, Richard just put $5 on and says, can't wait to meet you all in person. I'm excited to be at the show. Danny and Richard, 2 gingerbeards, 1 city.
We know where the ginger starts, where the ginger ends.
Okay. I'm looking forward to the videos that Richard puts out after the show. I think some of those are going to be absolutely epic, especially the visiting of the zoo. Really looking forward to that one.
Well, see you later, guys. Hope to see you Sunday.
Cheers, Lee. See you Sunday. I'm going to give it another 15 minutes and then end the stream. I will do for the last 15-20 minutes. We'll have a little bit of an open mic night. So if you want to pop on and say hello, I'll put the link down into the comments now, and you can come on and come and say hello. I'm going to give the camera a quick wipe if I can find something to wipe with it because it's annoying me. I'll just use my t-shirt. But again, if you guys pop over to Scott's Inverts YouTube, Facebook page and go and have a look, you might see that post where we put up. So if you want to come to the show and you can't get here, just whack it down into those comments, and hopefully maybe somebody's coming past in their vehicle and come pick you up. Again, a massive thank you to Richard for coming on the stream. It was literally I've kind of accomplished a couple of things. We've had Dave on the live and we've had Richard on the live. So for me personally, that's 2 huge accomplishments within the hobby. Lee, my God, we've been trying to get Lee on for about 18 months. He's extremely camera shy. Extremely shy kind of guy in person as well. So massive thank you for Lee popping on as well. Harry says, thank you, Scott. You made my year. No, the guys that joined the stream made the year. So big, massive thank you again, Lee and Richard. Awesome guests. And obviously Richard's 2 helpers for giving us that little insight as well. What a pair of cool dudes. Hopefully you guys have followed them both on Instagram. I did ask one of the moderators to save me going back through the comments if you could put their links for their Instagram pages onto the Scott's Inverts Facebook page as well. That would be absolutely awesome. Show those 2 guys some love. Epic stream, says Mike. Mike was the guy. Mike knew I wanted Richard on for a long time. Probably just didn't have the confidence to drop him a message to ask him to come on. Mike went and had a little chat with him at a show, and it all led from there. So from that conversation Mike had with Richard at the show, kind of gave me the confidence then to message him and keep fingers crossed and all the rest of it. So massive thank you to Mike Stark and Mini Mike down in those comments. Thank you guys, really appreciate it. Anyway, I think what we'll do, Lee was brilliant to me at the last Brighton show, says Nessa. Knocking my vapes over. I really need to change this camera out on my laptop. He was brilliant to me at the last Brian show, making sure I had access to everything being disabled. Awesome. Big D, Professor's Critters. Got to say, awesome stream, Scott. You got it together. Take the compliment, you wanker. Yeah, cheers, dude. I can't remember the two helpers' social media links. Nor me, Jackie. I'm going to have to go back through the live. I can't remember the links. How excited were you when you had Richard on this show? Says Angela. He's still in the comments. But very, 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 very excited. And it probably did show for the first 5 minutes until you kind of realise Richard's exactly how the people say he is. Such a down-to-earth guy. Really appreciated him opening up about the past with what went on with him in the past as well. Really inspiring. And I hope if anybody else is going through any of that, you know, Spider's helping you. If not, you can always drop me a message and all the rest of it. Thank you, Mike. I feel the same. We do need to get Mike and quite a couple of the other US guys over to the UK to come meet us all, don't we? Unless we all kind of get together and get a massive trip over to the USA for one of those expos next year. Mike is a top bloke. He is. Shows everyone that goes through crap in life come out the other side a better person, says Angela. Definitely. I think a lot of us, probably from our dark days, have got a lot of regrets and a lot of skeletons and stuff like that. But to do YouTube and being part of a community kind of gives us a focus where we can put positive energy, if you like, back into that community, back into life. As you guys know, I've been clean off drugs 8-9 years. Had a little slip up probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Ex-homeless, all the rest of it, and anything's possible in this life. And if anybody tells you any different, just tell them fuck off. Pretty simple. If somebody's going to tell you that there ain't nothing else, just blank them out your life and move on. It's like Richard was saying, if you've got that, if you can't swim, you don't learn to swim by keep reading books and watching television. You learn to swim by going and doing it. And I think that piece of advice was absolutely crucial. Definitely got me thinking about a few little things that I've got going on in the background, which are not related to YouTube. But yeah, definitely. Anyway, guys, I am going to end the stream. It is 11:30 in the UK. Again, a massive, massive thank you to the Tarantula Collective. There's 42 people of you in there now. I'm assuming that all you guys are already subscribed up to him. If not, please do so. Richard's also got the Tarantula Collective Facebook group as well. So pop over there. We shall see you all over there. But thank you so much. I have got a video coming out this Thursday. Not quite sure what it's going to be on yet because unlike Richard, I'm not that far advanced. I can try in the next merch drop, says Richard. Hey, no worries. Thank you all so much. I really loved it tonight. Bro. Thank you, Richard. See you on Sunday. The beards will meet. I've had so much grief about your beard being better than mine in private chats. It's been crazy. But again, thank you to everybody that's come along tonight. Really appreciate all your love and support. If you guys weren't there in those comments, the streams and stuff wouldn't be happening, and the love certainly wouldn't be happening. We got to get a photo. Oh, mate, definitely. That would be absolutely brilliant. And I don't have faith in vaccinations enough to fly, says Mike. Yeah, the vaccinations. That's a topic for another live stream, dude. But again, for those that you're coming on Sunday, I can't wait. It's going to be, I think it's going to be one of the best shows of the year, if not the best. But thank you again to Richard, and Lee for popping on, making tonight happen. Really, really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you all again so much. And we shall see you on Thursday. See you on Sunday at the show. It's going to be epic. Night, everybody, and take care. Night.